You know that's going to go into the edit now.
I just want you to know.
I just want you to know that's going to go into the edit.
We haven't started.
No, we have. We've officially started.
In that case.
Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast. If you enjoyed that little interlude, you've got Jamie and Jonesy to thank. They're my guests today. Don't know if I'm going to have them back on next week because they are misbehaving. How you doing, fellas?
That little interlude was actually for your eyes only, Chris, and I don't know how I feel about the fact that you shared that with the world.
Hey, you share it with me, you share it with my friends. That's how it goes. That's right. You are all friends of the SuperShow podcast, a gaming podcast that definitely does not take itself too seriously, obviously. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, a bunch of other podcasting platforms as well, fellas. On Thursdays, paisleyradio.com at 10 p.m. Go check it out. Now,
Internet radio superstars.
Yeah, I just kind of want to get that intro shit all out of the way because we've got a lot to talk about, okay? Because PlayStation have just shown off their state of play, their first kind of slate of games and updates for the year. Blizzcon has happened. That was a thing. And a couple of other little news nuggets. It's been a busy week and we've got a lot to cover. But first, fellas, I was wondering what you think of the fact that Anthem 2.0 or Anthem Next or whatever the fuck they were going to call it is no longer a thing. That's right. It has been cancelled.
Well, I, for one, know that Jamie sunk £5 into Anthem thinking that it was going to be a thing. And so he put his money where his mouth was and he's down a fiver.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
That was my GME. That was my Wall Street bets. That Anthem was going to blow up and that I was going to become a million, maybe even billionaire.
So you put your stonks into it. Yeah, gotcha.
I put my stonks into it, yeah. I'm all about the stonks. I'm going to be being interviewed by senators before long and they'll be like, how did you know?
To be fair, though, you've got an average game for $5 or £5, so that's but it's not bad. Like,
as the news story will explain, Chris, I've got an average dead game, which in 2021 terms is kind of a different thing.
There we go. Kind of. Okay, so
This makes me before we get to the news. It does make me a little bit sad. Like genuinely, I never played.
You sad, Jonesy? You sad? You big crybaby.
Big sad, mate. I'm big sad. I never played Anthem outside of I think the little bit of streaming that we did on ATG, but there was a lot that I think that could have been great about that game. So, and any time the game gets canned like this, it's not great,
dude. I'll promise you, not even this news, but before when it's oh, Anthem is actually pretty shit. I was mad. I was angry because you're right. It's a game that lends itself to a lot of fucking potential. It was a game that lent itself to a lot of potential. Especially with the flying, which as it turns out was a big part of the problem in terms of the development of the game. But the flying felt fucking great to me. I loved it. The gunplay was okay, but I think it just fell into a lot of the traps and tropes of the genre. And it's funny, Jamie, you mentioned it when we were discussing a handful of episodes ago about Marvel's Avengers and how this
greatest game of last year.
Yeah. But basically saying how there is a blueprint for how these things are expected to go. And as long as you follow the blueprint, you won't have a bad game on your hands. You might not have a great game, but you're not going to have a bad game.
Well, and Jonesy and I disagreed on it at the time, and that conversation ended up taking way too long to get through. So we don't need to delve quite into the depths we did last time. But yeah, I am of the opinion that I don't see why so many looter shooters or whatever you want to call them do keep persisting in getting this stuff wrong. You can go back as far as Diablo 3, a decade's worth of learning lessons from how not to do loot in games. And some people still make the same mistakes. Part of what was considered for the plans for Anthem 2.0 or Anthem Next, whatever it was a revitalization, a complete reworking of the loot system. Yeah. How are you getting a loot system wrong in 2019?
They did have it wrong.
Dude, yeah, but what case studies are you looking at or not looking at?
No, it was crazy, right? So I remember you go out into the world, you kill these dudes. It's oh, you've picked up this fucking gun. Mm-hmm. Okay, guess what? You can't equip it.
Nope.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
you have to go back to fucking home base. Yeah.
So imagine playing a game like Diablo, and it's oh yeah, no, you got to teleport back to town in order to equip your new thing that you picked up.
But Destiny did that, but Destiny did it in a smart way because for you know, but they did the same thing, which was you get the engram or whatever they call it, so you don't know what it is. But it's the same thing. Like you've picked something up, but the problem is as soon as you know what that thing is, you want to equip it in the game.
Yeah, you want to use it.
Destiny. You want to use it, but if you don't know what it is, like that's why Destiny was smart because they said you don't know what it is.
Well, Destiny was smart
so
because it just found another way to get like an element of gambling involved. Because what an engram was, it was better than a weapon you could use in a moment. It's a weapon that had the potential to be the best weapon in the game. The thing about the way that engrams worked is when you looked up at the percentage chances, even like a purple or legendary engram had like a 0.1% chance of giving you an exotic. So every single thing that dropped from an enemy could have been the best gun in the game, could have been, you know, the Galahorn or whatever was hot at the time. And you had to go back and you had to essentially roll an invisible die to find out what you got. And Anthem, again, like that was something that Destiny kind of, it rubbed people up the wrong way over time, but it was something that Jonesy and I clearly remember from Destiny. Why can't games like Anthem learn lessons like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And yeah.
But hey, its issues stemmed far further than that. But look, that's the old Anthem, okay? Because fucking hell, I remember having a nightmare of a time on that famous ATG stream that I had where the term hot panic was coined for me. But anyway, but iconic. Look, you know, looking to what they did is they said, okay, the game is obviously in a bad state. They threw up their hands and they said, we know we fucked up. We're going to take it back to the drawing board. We're going to revitalize a few things and we'll come back. And to their credit, they did go back. They changed a few things. They brought it back to the public. It was not very good. And they said, you know what? We're going to take it back one more time. Right? And that's when the whole Anthem Next kind of thing, a complete overhaul was promised. And yeah, a team since 2019 were fucking toiling away, hoping to revitalize it. But alas, fellas, it didn't come to be because EA assessed their progress. They basically said, show me what you got. And what they got was not good enough. You know, they felt it hadn't developed enough, and I guess they just didn't feel that they had a successful game on their hands.
Yeah,
and I think, but you get this with a lot of games though, is that you go so far down a certain route, you have to do too much to come back. I think, and that's maybe where the sort of problems you face is where you're like, there's nothing we can do to this game to bring it back.
Yeah, it's a big pity that EA is involved. Maybe the most purely business-minded company, game dev company out there. Like, nothing necessarily wrong with it, you know, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is business. But it's almost like in order to make Anthem a complete overhauled success, you need to spend a lot of money. As soon as you're spending a lot of money, the number crunchers at EA are going to go, it's not worth it. So it's almost like a catch-22 of a development hell. I don't know. I feel especially bad for them. I feel bad for the team.
Me too, because this has also been a weird small subsection of BioWare that has sort of been allowed to slowly tinker away at this thing and build the foundations for what a new Anthem could be. But never, from what I understand, had the access to the amount of employees or the size of team it would need to actually get the wheels in motion. What happened in the process of Anthem 2 being relaunched? Dragon Age went into like full-on development, which we'll discuss in a bit, and the future of Mass Effect, which I believe is the term that BioWare is still referring to the new Mass Effect sequel as, the future of Mass Effect, got announced. And so for EA, like you're right, Chris, it's like a manpower and a money thing where they're like, well, we could spend money and time making sure Anthem gets good one day, or spend time and money making sure Dragon Age and Mass Effect don't become another Anthem.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think if any of us were in charge, that's an easy decision, right?
But yes, if we actually had to write the checks, then yes, because it's not about hearts and minds.
Decision. You say, okay, draw a line across that one, and let's just fucking make sure that the next one. But unfortunately, for BioWare at least, Anthem was that one. There's like, well, let's draw a line across Mass Effect Andromeda. Anthem's going to be the one.
Yeah.
Although it's not even EA though, because when you think about it, like if you've given them the chance to make the game, they've made the game, and then it comes out, it's disastrous, and then you turn it, they go, we know what we did wrong. Just give us more money and time, and we can fix it. Like you got to be kind of stupid if you go and have a look at the progress and to let them carry on, because they didn't get it right in the first place.
Hold on, Jonesy.
Why are they going to get it right in the second place?
We don't know what that progress is. Maybe they just put fucking Thomas the Tank Engine in the game and called it a day.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you'd have to have seen an epic change in what was going on in order to say, yeah, this is worth time and effort and money.
Yeah.
And you've seen it before where stuff happens like that with games and then it becomes a whole new game because they're like, it's not what you were making, but it's actually, there's something there.
Yeah.
For them to turn around and just cut it off. Like,
Jonesy has just made me realise something, though, that they have missed a trick. Like, there was one actual thing that BioWare could have done that would have basically guaranteed the future of Anthem 2.0, and it probably would have been a rip-roaring success.
I cannot wait to hear this.
3 words. Zack Snyder's Anthem. Before you know it,
of course,
you got a $70 million budget. You got reshoots. You got VFX art, and everything's doing the main bad guys being
entering
redone.
The games market. I gotcha.
And the best thing about it, the director of the previous version of the game that no one liked gets wiped off the face of the earth. Joss Whedon is scum, and no one's allowed to enjoy Buffy the Vampire Slayer ever again.
And then, but the tagline for the film or the game writes itself as well, which is like 6 words, which is just as trash as the original, which is what both of those things would be.
Well, steady on, Jonesy, steady on.
Harsh.
You're going to come up against the Zack Snyder army if you're not careful.
Dude, that trailer, watching that trailer, I was like, wow, it's the same shit that I saw before. Just sold again.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
The superstar director between Batman vs Superman, whatever for justice, strikes again with another hit flick. We'll see.
The best bit in that trailer, I don't even remember it being in the original, but where Jared Leto turns to camera.
Oh yeah, because it wasn't in the original. Yeah,
it wasn't in the original.
I thought it was a joke though.
I was like, oh,
we live in a society.
I thought that we live in a society was a joke.
Oh, it's
but
a
he
meme,
says
dude,
it.
Yeah,
but why does he say it?
I don't know, because he's the Joker. Who can tell what's happening in
I'm
that
the Joker,
little
baby.
brain of his?
But like, if you say to me, oh, like this is he's fixed it, it's gonna be epic, and then you show me that one clip in that trailer, I'm like, oh no, he's made it worse. Possibly, it's gonna be even worse. I'm gonna watch it just for how bad it's gonna be.
I'm super curious about it. How the fuck first of all, how did we get from Anthem to this? But I am super curious to see what it is, and I'm looking forward to watching it. I might not enjoy it. I might enjoy it. I'm one of the few people that actually enjoyed Batman v Superman, so fucking why not?
Do you know what? To bring it back to Anthem, I think an analogy would be you sit down with Anthem, like the Zack Snyder remake of Anthem, and then you are like playing for a few seconds. All right, okay, they might have fixed it. Let's have a look. And then you walk into that hub world bit, and it's exactly the same as it was the first time round. And you're like,
but this is the thing, dude.
It's just as trash.
Yeah, but hold on, this is the thing, because part of this overhaul, it's not going to be new voice acting. It's not going to be new motion capture. What they're working on is game systems. Right? Like that. Yeah. I assume that's what we assume, but that's what makes the most sense.
Can I ask a question that might like put a bow on this element of the Anthem story? Which
9
is
inches.
There we go. We've got it in one. Let's move on.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say that like one of the things that some of the reporting around Anthem and BioWare's development was suggested that like people at BioWare, like higher ups, would say to the people working on the game, hey, if stuff's broken after launch, we can fix it after launch. That's kind of the way these games work. Like there was an element of fix it after it's out that was sort of like worked into and considered in the development cycle and the development process. Because again, when you look back through time, whether it's like the games we mentioned thus far, like Diablo or Destiny or The Division, so many of them had redemption stories.
Yeah, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, like similar redemption story, but with weird things happening like Anthem and like a lot of the uncertainty around Marvel's Avengers, are we entering the era of games that are going to be considered warnings for future generations of like, hey, you can't just throw money at stuff until it works. Like some of these games will die and be $100 million failures.
I hope so, dude, because I've actually got the inside track, okay? I'll tell you guys exactly what happened. Now, let me paint the picture of what Anthem Next was going to be, okay? These guys were fucking working super hard at it, and they brought it to a place that they thought was really fucking good. They're about to bring it to market. And what happens? Marvel's Avengers launches, and it's the exact same fucking game. and that game gets fucking slated, and they're like, fuck.
So somewhere at BioWare, there's like a whiteboard, and the title at the top of the whiteboard says Anthem DLC ideas, and someone's just scrubbing off the word Hawkeye furiously, like, no, they did it
the
first.
Hawkeye suit, fucking get rid of it. Oh my god.
I think that some part of the problem is that they think it is easy. So like when we talked before and we said there's certain things you do in games, and we'll talk about in a little bit a game that I think has gone the wrong side of this, which is copying what other games have done, which is Outriders.
Oh, interesting.
And when you copy too much of other games, you start to get maybe too far down the other route of having a game which is not going to be successful because it's too derivative.
And you lose your identity, right?
Exactly. So I wonder if there's part of that is that they're trying to be different whilst not being too different, and they just go on the wrong side of it. And Anthem does seem like it could have been one of those stories, but they did screw up some.
Dude, listen, I mean, I'm not
shit.
entirely surprised. So when we were on All Time Gaming and we made a relatively okay video, it was actually a great video, I lie, about how Anthem could kill BioWare as part of our Game Changers video essay series. And when the main game that's the focus of your studio at the time was Anthem, and your studio can't get its act together, what's a small team going to do?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, you know what, less cooks fucking up the pot, but in reality, the chances are that small team doesn't have, they're just shunted in the back office and said, don't disturb anyone.
They got offered a Band-Aid when their leg had just been hacked off with a machete.
Yeah, exactly. And told to regrow a leg. It's like, doesn't work that way.
We'll come back in 6 months and see how your leg's cutting back.
In retrospect, there is quite a funny thing in like, why do video games not feature flying? It's like because it's almost impossible to implement like in a good way and have a good game.
I don't know, dude.
In.
Like, unless I'm entirely alone on this, but I thought the Anthem flying felt fucking fine.
I'm not saying. Flying, I thought it felt okay.
Yeah.
As far as flying goes, but when you look at games in general, like flying is not that common, especially in the type of game it was, because it's hard to do, it's hard to feel good, and it often isn't great. But so then the second you say we're going to have a game with flying mechs, maybe there was a bit of a warning there when you're like,
man, gamers about a week ago, they released their video kind of discussing the fall of Anthem, and I was watching it, and I was. Like I said, I get angry about the failure of this game because it should have been a fucking knockout of the park. But the thing that strikes me is the game still looks so fucking gorgeous.
It is a good looking game. Yeah. But there's some cool shit in there. There's definitely some cool stuff.
Yeah. But I don't know. But hey, listen, you know what? Anthem's downfall might be to the benefit of some of BioWare's future titles, such as the Mass Effect game that, we don't know anything about, or Dragon Age 4, fellas.
Chris, I don't mean to interrupt, but can you please, from here on out, just refer to it as the future of Mass Effect, please? I mean,
the future of Mass Effect and Dragon Age 4. So maybe, depending on your perspective, some good news about Dragon Age 4, because it has been reported now that it is going to be a completely single-player experience. So it could be from the backlash of what's happened to Anthem and the kind of games as a service not being this money messiah as people kind of thought it could be, especially those number crunchers at EA.
Yes.
But it's also been said to be following the success of Jedi Fallen Order as kind of thrusting single player into the spotlight once again.
Yeah.
So, thank God, the best type of games. Yeah. Single player, man.
Right.
And because Jason... Yeah, sorry, go on ahead, Jamie.
Oh, no, I was going to say, do you remember EA were the ones at the forefront when they shut down Visceral Games, who were like the Dead Space studio who are also working on a Star Wars project, and they put out that really awkward statement about how, they weren't sure there was a future market for big AAA single-player experiences, and everything they've done since then just about has proved them wrong. It's kind of great, but not good for the jobs that might have been lost along the way, but...
It's kind of mad. But yeah,
it's the same as that. But it's the same as that bullshit, right? Where we always say, like, when you have like something happens right in the world, like, I don't know, a war or like a bust in the economy or something like that, or like a boom, and then everyone says, right, when that we've learned from that, we're never going to do that again. That's the sort of like EA going, single player games don't really work, then they're dead. Yeah, surprise, that they're going to come back stronger than ever because you were just wrong. Like, you were just saying shit because at the time,
but it's also
multiplayer stuff was successful.
It's also one of the biggest game developers saying single player games are dead. Yeah, it's going to have an effect on single player games. Like,
but then I think in the long run, if anything, like they will just fall out of favor. Like, I don't think those big names are big enough. They're not monopoly enough over the whole industry to stop people playing what they want to play. And it's all about trend, right? We all play different games based on trends and how, you know, things take off and things get. But the EA were wrong. They were friggin' wrong. Thank God.
Yeah. It's true.
But yeah, so I'm sure lots of Dragon Age fans will be glad to hear that it'll be a single player affair. Although on the development team, a lot of people were pushing for a single player experience, but some people were kind of excited about that games as a service kind of thing. So, man, I just hope that it's like 2 people, because if it's another fucking split development, then it's not looking good.
Yeah,
man. Anyway.
Dragon Age.
Wow.
It's
a long pause and then Jonesy
that
just says Dragon Age.
Well, like I have nothing else to say about from what you were saying, but I will say about Dragon Age, it's one of those games that it's not a game for me, but everything I hear and see about it, and I'm like, okay, actually sounds like something I could get into. And then you say, oh, it's a single player RPG. I'm like, okay, I could get into that. If you just said to me, it's a multiplayer games as a service and it's about like dragons and blah blah blah, I'll be like, yeah, I think I'm out. But then
I don't know. I've tried to play all 3 Dragon Age games and never finished one of them, and I'm just worried for my track record, especially considering that was alongside finishing and liking the Mass Effect games, and I never understood the disparity.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
I don't know. It's weird.
I think you can not finish a game and still really enjoy it.
Oh,
you are right. You're absolutely right. But I also think, like, when in like story-driven action RPGs where there's so much about like choice and the narrative, and especially games where the narrative leads from one after the other, I sometimes draw questions, like when I look at my own experiences with those games, like, okay, maybe I was having a good time with the gameplay, but if I couldn't even see through the story, like I wasn't even intrigued enough to see the fucking ending, like what happened to these characters, then in some cases I felt like I was personally building, then how engaged could I really have been? And I know sometimes life gets in the way, but when you're on a 0 for 3 record with a series like I am with Dragon Age, like maybe I've got to read between the lines.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong in about the level of like the story driven aspects of it, but I'd say a game like Skyrim, which was like a story driven RPG, I didn't finish, but I played a shitload of that game and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys agree. I don't think those Bethesda, or at least Skyrim is a better example, I don't think they're like story driven in the same way as a BioWare game. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Like the story of the Elder Scrolls, it's, you know, people love them, don't get me wrong, like the whole, especially with Skyrim and like the fucking, I don't even remember the factions, the Imperials and whatever, but like it's there, but it's not necessarily the main driving focus. I feel that those games are like, hey, here's your character, go out and fucking the world. That's the kind of...
In fact, I can pretty much sum up the whole Skyrim story right now if you want me to.
Go ahead.
Basically, you play as a guy, they're going to chop your head off. They don't because a dragon comes. You get out of the dragon town, you go down the hill and speak to the shopkeeper. You help them get the golden claw off.
Hold on, are you literally going to recount everything that happens in Skyrim?
Then after you've done the golden claw, you go to the first village, you kill one more dragon, and then other shit happens for another 100 hours and the game ends. Everyone remembers the first 3 hours of Skyrim. The next 97, who gives a shit?
It's not only Skyrim, it's any Elder Scrolls game. The first 3 hours are always like, I'm into this.
Do you guys remember
that, you're like, I would just want to go and kill shit.
Yeah, like everyone remembers the story to oblivion. You get out of the sewers and then the credits roll.
For me, Skyrim was easily like 30 hours of just walking up to people going, Zadoosh! Just launching them off a cliff.
or just use it on PC, fucking spawning infinite amounts of cheese on the top of a hill and just watching it roll down.
Yeah, I'm just more impressed that Jonesy is so endeared to Skyrim that he's making up his own shouts, and how like Fusrodar must be one of the most famous shouts in video game history, but Jonesy's turned it into, what was it, Vadoosh?
Do you know what? I was channeling Kung Fu Panda a bit. I tried to get a bit of skadoosh in there.
Skadoosh. That's funny, because we heard that Jack Black just got cast as the old grey wizard in the Skyrim movie. Yeah.
Strange old grey
world.
Wizard.
I forget the guy, the old man who teaches you how to shout at the wind.
I don't remember his name. I remember the big dragon's name, Parthenax.
There you go.
Or maybe I'm pretty sure. Anyway,
sounds like a disease. Well, no, it sounds like a weapon that the US would have used in Vietnam. Like, you think anthrax?
Oh, yeah.
Or you think like
yeah.
Oh man. Well, fucking. I don't know. Maybe at some point, maybe at some point we'll get leaks of what Anthem next looked like, and maybe we could all breathe a sigh of relief that maybe that game didn't come out. I don't know. We will see what happens. But what I do know, Jamie and Jonesy, is that this podcast is only made possible with the support of some lovely individuals, our patrons. They went over to patreon.com/SuperShow, checked out some of our tiers and said, you know what? I want to throw some money at these guys. And we are eternally grateful for that. And here are some people that threw some money our way that lets us keep on doing the random bullshit that we do for your erotic ear pleasure. I'm talking about AIM, Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Brett Z, aka Shellshock, Hacksaw Book Read, Jesper Cam Don Leersen, Javela Cujo, Leo Merger, Lonnie Thompson, Magic Grits, Matt Tawi, also known as Optio, Mindful Pig, Nathan Piers, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Sean Kennedy, Starfall Kid, Zach Cream, and of course, the big boys, forever in all of our hearts, Manuel Guerrero, Peaswad, and the Dude Abides. Thank you so much for your patronage. It really does mean the world to us. And if you would like to join that list of prestigious, cool dudes, then head on over to patreon.com/SuperShow. And for as little as $2, you get access to our Discord server, where we are always kind of, chatting along over there, doing some funny shenanigans. Jonesy once sent nudes to the whole team, accidentally, of course. I think it was only meant for one or two people, but that's the kind of thing that happens over there.
Just my ass, just from the back.
Just my ass.
Yeah. Well, I hate to break it to you, Jonesy, but your ass from the front would be a very different sight.
No, what's the song? Where you can see it from the front, wait till you see it from the back. Is that Doja Cat? You can see her ass from the front.
Wow. Oh, because it's
so bulbous that you can see it from the front.
Fucking hell.
I must admit, that took me a minute when that song dropped to be like, what? How can you see the ass from the front?
If you could see it from the front, you should see it from the back or something like that.
I think it's you see it from the front, wait till you see it from the back.
Wow. There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Doja Cat.
Guys, that's the second time you've done this.
Every time a news story or a little segment ends, Josie's just going to say the one word.
Sighs and goes, Doja Cat. Anthem.
I'm thinking it's my new thing as I'm getting older.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It beats anything that I can say, because I feel like is my internet, has it just shit the bed over the last 10 minutes? Can you guys be honest with me? Am I on a massive delay or something?
It hasn't been great, but I think we're managing.
Okay.
Jonesy's also changed colour, so I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
I'm going to do one of these.
Do you know what, folks? You know what? It's 7 minutes to midnight right now on a Thursday, and we've all had a very long week.
Yeah,
we have.
Yeah. You could afford us some of your fucking patience, all right? Now, guys, I want to do something a little bit different this week, okay? Because instead of a comment of the week, we have some questions from our friends over at Paisley Radio. Not the people that run Paisley Radio, but our listenership from Paisley Radio, which we do appreciate each and every one of you. So I've got a couple of them. They shouldn't take us too long to kind of cover. Maybe more, don't want to say quick fire, but short answers are appreciated, because we got a handful of them to go through. So I've got Declan from Addison, Illinois. Hi guys, I've caught your last few shows on radio, so I'm not sure if you've already covered Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Is Valhalla the most beautiful and best open world Ubisoft has ever developed?
Ooh, a big question. Very
That
juicy
is a
one.
decent question because it is a good-looking game. Now, I know you guys probably have a lot more to say about it because I haven't played Valhalla, but I have seen what it's looked like, and I will say that I personally prefer the look and feel of Odyssey. I think they did an exceptional job with the variety in that game.
Okay.
It's interesting. Odyssey was a gorgeous game, and the Mediterranean stuff the colours and stuff's really vivid in that. But I was taken aback by how pretty Valhalla was.
Yeah.
And when you first I've only played some of the early game stuff. I haven't played it anywhere near as much as Jamie. And when you sort of climb to the top of some of those mountains and you get the snow and the cliffs, and I think you get like the aurora as well.
Yeah.
And it is a friggin' gorgeous game. Like it's phenomenally pretty.
Do you think it is the most beautiful and best open world Ubisoft have ever developed?
Maybe the prettiest, but the best. From what I've played, it's not the best in a lot of things.
It tries stuff. It tries stuff. It comes up with like solutions to some of the things that Ubisoft have had like thrown back their way in terms of like the people had problems with them in the past. They've tried to kind of like streamline the side mission system. So now they're all mysteries that kind of take place there and then and don't clutter up a quest log.
Yeah.
Things like that are kind of unique twists. But is it the best open world they've ever made? I don't know. Because it's also like you go back to the early days of that quote unquote formula before we were burnt out from it. And like you go back to your first experiences with Far Cry 3, for example, and it was a revelation.
Yeah.
And so
Black Flag?
Yeah, exactly, Black Flag. And again, like where they put an interesting twist on it and it just, it was a breath of fresh air. I also have a rogue shout for the most beautiful, and it's not one that people are going to be expecting. But prior to the break they took in development of Assassin's Creed, when they came back with Origins, it's set in Egypt, and they've kind of technically seemed quite similar since then, although obviously changing locations has led to changing color palettes and changing looks overall. But Assassin's Creed Unity, which was the one that was famous for being an absolute mess on launch,
that was the
disappearing
Paris.
faces. It was Paris, yeah. The one with like floating eyeballs, an absolute like hideous monstrosity. But that game is really rather startling looking, even to this day, in my opinion, because it was before they changed their tech. They used like a baked lighting system, for example, where like depending where you were in a story, it was like predetermined times of day, and that meant that everything in terms of the lighting and the shadows had this really sort of like predetermined quality to it. That
an
I just think
look.
Yeah, that I think suited the series better more than the more sort of like huge open world and open-ended design of the recent ones has had. But so I recommend, anyone curious, just go and try and find like a 4K PC capture of Assassin's Creed Unity. It's really interesting to look at that, given what the new ones look like.
It's a decent shout.
I don't know.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one. Kay from Cork in Ireland. With the trailer of Mortal Kombat just released, which game adapted into a film is your favorite? Question is for all of you. Don't worry, we'll all answer all of these questions. But the Mortal Kombat trailer, I guess if we have time, we'll kind of discuss it more towards the end of the podcast. But it looked pretty cool, just to kind of put that out there.
Yes.
But favorite game adapted into a film. Man,
that's tough, man. I always find that
I don't know
tough.
I don't know if I've got a fit. I almost have to remind myself of what the fuck it is to choose.
Well, I think that from the most recent ones that have really done well, obviously like Detective Pikachu and the Sonic film. Detective Pikachu I actually really enjoyed. The Sonic film was like a solid 5 out of 10 for me. I did fall asleep.
Oh, you absolute filth bag.
I fell asleep in the cinema, Jonesy. So, I mean, I did
Sonic is
I did miss like a quarter
film.
of the film. So, maybe I missed some of the magic there, but it was okay.
My kids have made me watch Sonic like 30 times, and now I love it.
Jeez. But, funnily enough, I think two game-related films come to mind when you ask me, like, what was my favorite. Not necessarily that they're objectively the best, but the Prince of Persia felt like a non-video game film that was based on a video game. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't think it did anything wrong. It didn't have a multitude of sins. It was an enjoyable film, except for maybe the fucking ostriches, because that just kind of seemed a little bit out of place. But I don't know. Maybe it belonged. But the other one is actually the first Mortal Kombat film. I mean, I was young enough to be like, this is sick. And it had that soundtrack, and it had this fucking Goro motherfucker, and I was all about it. It's fucking cool. And fucking Scorpion, he puts his hand like this, and the fucking insect thing comes out, and that was his fucking spear. It was quality.
Yeah. A lot of people have a lot of nostalgia for that. I think I'm looking at a list now, for what it's worth, on Wikipedia, and I'm realizing I don't really have an actual answer. The closest thing I had to an answer is something that I was excited for when I was younger, because I was 14 when it came out, and that's the 2007 Hitman movie, which I remember not being able to see in the cinema, but buying the DVD when we were going on holiday to Scotland. And
was that the Timothy Olyphant one?
It was Timothy Olyphant and Olga Kurylenko, and
you
Dougray
get to see her tits in that one.
You do. I remember buying the DVD. I was in Scotland. It was like a holiday, and it was like the one thing I was allowed to buy, like as like a treat for the holiday, just for us to stay in a hotel room with no DVD player. So I just remember staring at the box for Hitman DVD for a week, and as like a 15-year-old, and being like, "This is gonna be fucking rad."
I'll drop a little tidbit for you as well. No, not a tidbit, but a bit of a curveball. Because as bad as the Doom film was, it
was all right, I thought.
Nah, it's terrible, dude. But that last 5 minutes, when it actually went into the first person view, that was so cool. That was really cool. And that was obviously before a lot of CG had kind of taken hold. So a lot of it was like choreographed practical effects, which makes it even more kind of cool,
that 5 minutes in first person looks so trash. Like
I thought it looked cool,
they had
dude.
to.
I was like, I want a whole film like this. This is what Doom is.
I don't mean it was bad, but it was trash in the sense of I just remember like the whole movie was, and the monsters and stuff which were kind of fast and sort of a little bit like trying to be, appear from nowhere and attack and disappear. And in that section, all the monsters just sort of stood there and went, rah, and then he just shoots them. But it worked. It looked cool. Like it was a fun little
I want to say that
aside.
I saw a behind the scenes thing of it, and they basically did it like a stage show. Like everything was on cue, and like I said, it was choreographed. So yeah, it was literally like jump out, and the monster goes, rah, and if the guy was like 2 seconds too slow, the monster just had to kind of keep on going until he got shot or something. But I also, and I don't know if I'm imagining the detail here, but I want to say that it wasn't meant to be in the original film, and they had a bit of budget left over or something, and they said, "Oh, this would be really cool to do," and then they just kind of did it. But I don't know if that's a false recollection. But yeah, what about you, Jones? You haven't mentioned anything.
Man, it's so tough. Like I did what Jamie did. I put up a list just to kind of remind myself what's been out, and there's so much trash. Like
Street Fighter movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme banged Kylie Minogue.
No, it's his daughter, isn't it?
No,
in that?
No, because he's.
Actually, he didn't bang her in the film.
I thought it was his
banging behind the scenes. No, but wasn't he? He was Guile and she was Cammy or some shit like that.
Oh, was he Guy? Oh, okay, I don't know. I'm getting confused with what was what in that film. But okay, I will say that some of the newer ones I think are better. Detective Pikachu I actually liked. I thought was pretty cool. And Tomb Raider, the Alicia Vikander one, I quite liked. I thought was decent.
That's all right. Yeah.
And Sonic the Hedgehog, I've watched that, like I said, shitloads of times with my kids now, and I actually think that's a cool, fun, like. It's nothing special, but it's a pretty cool movie based on that you can watch with kids, and it's fine. So many of the other ones are hot trash. Like I literally was looking up a few thinking,
well, as the Assassin's Creed film, seeing as we spoke about Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oh my goodness, with Michael Fassbender, that was awful. That film was so crash. Fassbender.
Michael Slowbender, more like.
But it's not been great, is it, over the years?
Nah. All right, let's move on to the next one. Hopefully future game movies will be better. I kind of think that the next Mortal Kombat film is not going to be good, but it'll still be fun. But yeah, let's move on. Ian from Moffat in Scotland. How would you say it, Jamie?
Ask someone Scottish, I don't know.
Funny.
Jonesy, thoughts?
No idea, mate.
Well, Ian from Scotland. Will the new Pokemon Snap be the biggest game on Nintendo Switch? Also, is it a much demanded follow-up to to the 1999 N64 favorite, Pokemon Snap. So yes, it is a much demanded follow-up, but no, it will not be the biggest game on Nintendo Switch. I don't believe. I mean, you're talking about Animal Crossing, which is like getting close to 32 million copies sold. Pokemon Snap is probably too niche.
Yeah, I think it has the potential to be bigger than people might have imagined a few years ago, just by virtue of the popularity of the Switch and the bizarrely high attachment rate between like Switch owners and like Nintendo first-party titles.
Yeah,
I think it's probably because they're starved of nothing else. Like, I would consider buying a Pokemon Snap game in 2021. I've got no nostalgia for the original, so
yeah.
But
I'm gonna go left field. I'm gonna say, because what is at the moment we're saying Animal Crossing is the second biggest. Mario Kart I think is the biggest Switch game ever at the moment,
right.
and then
then
Snap.
probably like Odyssey and Breath of the Wild are probably like 3 and 4 in some order.
So Snap's got to be well up there, right? It's got to do big numbers. I'm going to say, because of when it's coming out, as Jamie just alluded to, it's coming out early enough in 2021 that people go insane for it and it becomes one of the biggest. I don't think it'll be in the top 3, but let's say top 5.
Top 5. Wow.
Top 5.
And Jamie, I think I got to correct you because I believe that 3D Mario All-Stars...
is it already up there?
Yeah, I think it's overtaken.
Wow.
Odyssey. I think it has.
Fair play. Fair play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
totally possible.
Yeah. Anyway, Jacob, and this is the last question. Jacob from Bowen Island in Vancouver, north of the border. Hi, SuperShow. I'm a bit confused. Is Resident Evil Village a standalone game or a sequel to Biohazard? Can confirm it is it's a numbered Resident Evil. So but it is a sequel to Biohazard because you're playing the same character.
Yes.
They've said it as well, haven't they? The devs have said it is a direct sequel.
Yeah.
But I think, do you know what though? To be fair to Jacob, they've done such a stupid thing with the name. Like, it's 8, it's not. It's Village, it's 8. It's Roman numerals. Like, I can see why people would say, are they trying to make it sound like it's not a direct sequel?
It gets weirder than that because the one before it was Resident Evil Biohazard, right? But in Japan, Resident Evil is called Biohazard. And I think in Japan it was called Biohazard Resident Evil.
Biohazard.
Was the number 7 a part of the title officially? Or have we just taken to calling it that?
No, I think it was.
I actually can't remember. It seems
so
to
like, because then that's another thing. Like, why like obviously make Resident Evil 8 and not use the number at least in the marketing or promotion of it, when you did use the number 7 very clearly in the way you handled the previous game?
They had the 7 was in the
Evil.
The 7 was in the Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. They just highlighted it.
It was highlighted, but it wasn't
just changed the
explicitly
colour.
said Resident Evil 7.
Interesting.
It was Resident Evil Biohazard, and then so maybe this is just a new thing
So
that they're
dumb.
doing. But hey,
So dumb.
yeah,
We can figure out what the next one can be because they're going to limit themselves because they're going to get to 9. So it has to be IX. So
it's going to be called Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, we already made that joke. It's going to be called Resident Evil 6 with the IX.
Oh, no, did you? That's great.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Thank you. That was one of mine.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Okay,
I'll say the other thing for Jacob is that Chris Redfield's in this one as well. So
yes, Chris Redfield's in it, and I can't remember the main. I can't remember the main character from like who you playing.
Ethan Winters.
Ethan, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess because it's a direct sequel with Ethan, and obviously we don't know how they kind of relate to each other, but his girlfriend, who spoilers you kind of rescue in Resident Evil 7, is in there as well, kind of spurring you, it would seem, to go to this village or whatever it is.
Because you're rescuing your daughter, right? It goes from 7 to then 8. You're rescuing your daughter from this.
Something like that. But then it's also the reasoning behind keeping that first person view is because, hey, if you're playing as Ethan, you're playing in a first person view.
Yeah, see, Ethan is the only Resident Evil protagonist that sees out of his eyes.
Yeah.
Every other Resident Evil protagonist, like Leon or Chris or Claire or whatever, they actually have, the little guy from Super Mario 64 just in the cloud holding the camera on a stick.
Yes.
He actually floats behind them.
And there's a Shiba Inu behind in a control room telling them what to do.
Yes, exactly.
It's kind of, a bit of a crossover.
Japanese horror.
Let's very quickly catch up on some of the games that we've been playing.
Yeah, do you know what? I'll really quickly say that I have finished pretty much Super Mario 3D World, and I'm just working on Bowser's Fury. Nice. I will say I've cooled on that game slightly since last week. It's good. But it's one of those. And if you need that in your life, then it's there for you,
Jamie.
In the what I would mean when I say it's a traditional Mario platformer, like a course-based Mario platform, in the same vein as the Super Mario Bros. And all those classic titles. And like I have occasionally found myself had nights where I've had the just one more level or just one more stage kind of effect, and I just keep going. But then I've also had it where I really thought I was about to finish it, and it goes poof, one more world, which sounds like a bonus for any gamer who's really enjoying their time with it. And I realized that actually I kind of thought I was done, and I'm not going to say wanted to be done, but
you're ready.
Yeah, I feel like I got my fill quite quickly. And I think it's maybe as a result of like we've all only got so much capacity for Mario goodness in our lives nowadays, right? And I got my fill, but I'm looking forward to focusing on Bowser's Fury. I did play something else, but Jonesy also played it and was playing it for the first time, so I might leave that to him. I will also just quickly give a shout out this week to.
Oh yeah, very important. Come on.
Actually, genuinely, like if we didn't have so much news to cover, I'd talk about this for 15 minutes, such as the nature of how like flawed I was and how grateful I am. But some of the members of our Discord, specifically the PC Master Race Lounge, and I'll give personal shout outs to the Dude Abides and to Grim. They actually came to my rescue this week because I was very close to not being here this evening for this podcast. My PC could have been in a box somewhere up in the middle of England. I had a hardware, one of the components of my PC failed, bit the dust. Obviously, not being a desktop PC user, like by default, I would never in a million years have been able to identify it myself, much less do anything about it. They gave up their time, both of them during work days, to talk me through the problem, like find out what was actually wrong. Talk me through like the part I needed to replace, found me a link to for a website that would send the part out the next morning. It did, and literally both of them, I had met these headphones on, Grim and the Dude, both in our Discord chat with me, talking me through as for the first time in my life I was opening up a PC and replacing it was the SSD for anyone wondering. I'll put it this way, I spoke to my mum later that day and I was trying to explain it to her because she doesn't understand this channel, the podcast, she doesn't understand Discord, she doesn't even understand communities. And she asked, like, did you have to pay for it? And I was like, no, that's it. Like, it was, they just were generous with their time. And just one of those really nice, wholesome moments where you're like, you know, it's really cool having a community like this that we all, that we engage with on Discord, but also like, were like just there for me at a time where like the alternative
willing
was,
to help.
Yeah, when the alternative was me putting this thing in a box and hoping for the best and like see you in 2 weeks maybe. Yeah, and they really pulled through.
That's cool.
So shout outs to them and just shout outs to the whole SuperShow community. Like it really is like a kind of one of those really nice, like warm fuzzy feelings when everything kind of comes together like that.
Family.
Well, it is like, and you know, the bigger you get, the harder it can be to kind of like keep in touch with that side of the community. And I'm glad we've still got that. So.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about that is in my head, it's like from a 90s action movie where Jamie is like trying to defuse the bomb and he's like trying to cut the wire. He's sweating and they're in the headset going like, Jamie, you've got to cut the red wire, and he's there going,
"Go." If you ever speak to Grim or the Dude about it, ask them about what was happening when I dropped a screw inside the case.
That's so easy to do.
It was literally like you would have, if it was on TV, you'd have heard the screw rattle around. It would have like camera would have panned to me. I'd have like pulled a face, and you just would have heard the 24. Doon.
Wow, I didn't think you were going to say. I thought you were going to say panned up to your face, and then you just hear a big shit sound.
Yeah. I mean, I would have shat myself had I not been so focused on getting that PC fixed.
Fair.
Anyway, that was my week. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, I guess if they didn't help you out, you wouldn't be recording this podcast.
100%, I wouldn't be. Guaranteed. Yeah. Because, like, we're all, probably all three of us consider ourselves quite tech savvy, right?
Yeah.
And we're so used to something not working and we just go, oh, I'll just fix it. Like, I'll find out what's wrong and I'll fix it.
Yeah.
And I just realized after 2 or 3 hours fucking spent typing in obscure command prompt like things and stuff like that, just trying everything I could and thinking like, I can't even get to the stage where I begin to figure out the problem, or the source of the problem, or replicate the issue. And I got in a Discord call and told them what had happened, and it was about 10 seconds in, they both at the same time went, "Yep, that sounds like this," and they were right. They were right.
Yeah. Well,
like,
hey, dude, welcome to the joys of PC ownership.
I know, right? But they literally absolute lifesavers. Absolute lifesavers.
To be fair, if your console shits the bed, you just literally have to just send it back. You've got no choice.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, go on, Jonesy. What you been playing?
Do you know what? I've not played much, but today I actually managed to get on a live stream over at Twitch, and Jamie joined me.
You got on a live stream, you scumbag. It has been like how many months?
Oh, do you know what? This was the first live stream of this year for me, so
wow,
it was emotional. Because the Outriders demo dropped today at 5 p.m. in the UK, Thursday the 26th. That is. So we sort of hopped on that, and I've wanted to play. I've wanted to play Outriders for a while because I remember looking at a lot of the stuff they put out, the trailers and things, and it looked really good. Jamie then played it. When was it, Jamie? A year ago or so you played it?
It was, January of last year, before the world got set on fire. Technically, like, we were still using the old offices to record the early episodes of the SuperShow. That's how long it was.
Yeah, wow, okay. Jeez.
Yeah, so they put out the demo, and then we hopped on for about an hour and a half, and so we sort of hopped in, played a bit of it. It was an interesting one. There was a number of things that kind of really stood out to me, and funnily enough, that we've already talked about. So that game is very derivative in a lot of ways. Like, as you're playing it, like, Chris, you genuinely be like, oh, this is from this game, this is from this game.
Yeah.
And it does feel a bit odd. It doesn't feel bad. Like, there's
well, I was going to say, sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing, Jonesy.
No, it's not. But then at the same time, I think Jamie made the point, I think is accurate, in that one of the problems is if you put too many things together, you end up having a game which can't really find itself because it's just trying to be patched together a whole load of other things. So think, for example, like the Destiny menu system is just recreated wholesale. It seems like, and we were laughing about the fact it feels very Gears of War, like the way that you're in cover and then you can run to another bit of cover. That just feels like Gears of War. And someone said it's actually made, but they did make a Gears game, the guys who made this. And then I think I even made a joke about the running before being able to run. Like, are you going to run like a Gears character? And as soon as you could sprint, you do. Like, the only difference is, rather than being locked behind you and the camera kind of moving with you to give that weird motion, the camera is slightly set off to the right and further back. So you watch him do the weird run and the camera's smoother. But yeah, it was fine. I'd like to play more before I can sort of formulate an opinion. But
I need to try it out. The thing that kind of strikes me about it is a question about identity. And not like gender identity or anything like that. More a case of like remember Lawbreakers came out and it's like, we've got this character and that character, but actually no one cared and no one remembered. And that's kind of the thing that it seems like Outriders is happening to.
So Outriders is
like a similar thing.
Outriders has classes, it's much more Destiny-like. It has a class. It doesn't have a character in that sense. Like, you're your own character. And immediately, the first thing I think I noticed and we talked about on stream was the way that it differentiates those classes quite a lot. So you have like a sniper class, you have like a tank class, and they are very different. Like, they play completely different. Yeah. And I like that. I think that's a strong thing to include in a game rather than the typical thing these days of going, everyone's kind of generic. But no, you need to get on the demo. It's free to play. I don't think it's not linked to any sort of time thing. So if anyone hasn't played it yet, hasn't gone to it, it's like 20 gig-ish, something like that, 25 gigs, something like that.
I think it's, And like you said, it's no time limit. I think it's open up until the game comes out and progress carries over as well. So
that's actually something I wanted to touch on. Thank God that more people are doing this. It seemed like it's been happening on the Switch for a very long time. Like, I remember there was the Dragon Quest demo that came out, and it's like, and that was like fucking 5-hour demo or a 10-hour demo, whatever it is. And it's like, if you decide to buy the game, your progress carries over. Why aren't more people doing this?
I've decided I don't like it.
Why?
Because so this is so playing this demo today, it sort of struck me that when you used to play demos of games, it felt like they would put you in maybe I'm just misremembering, but it felt like they would give you a slice of the game to play, and you would get an idea of the gameplay and the mechanics and how everything worked. And you'd have a good time with it, right? Yeah. This was like the beginning of the game, and I didn't necessarily want to play the beginning. I wanted to just get stuck in and experience what it looks like to play it. But they were forcing me to look at cutscenes that I might, if I never get the game, I don't care about. I'm never going to complete that story. They were forcing me to like learn about the systems in the game. I don't mind using the systems. I don't really want to sit down and go through everything. Like, I'd rather have a section from the middle of that game. But they're like, no, do the intro. Then how far you go carries over. I'm like, you're just trying to trick me into buying the game.
Okay, just stop, because Jamie is shaking his head so much he's going to dislocate a fucking plate in his neck just now.
It feels like
he's he's literally wrong about some of the things he's saying right now.
No, I'm not. Like what?
You can skip the cutscenes.
No, not you can't skip them. It's trying to get you to watch them.
You said you were being forced to watch them.
As in, it's in the demo, not the.
So sorry, let me rephrase it. Were you being forced to have the option to watch it? Then is that what you were looking for?
As in, it gave you a section of the game where it's no, because this is the other thing. You say
the only thing.
Hold on. You say you're not forced to watch the cutscenes, which is true. You can skip them, but you're forced to play through the prologue of the game, which is not representative of the game.
You are forced to play through the prologue of the game once. If you restart with any other class, you can skip it entirely. And what does the prologue do if you actually skip through the cutscenes? It tutorializes the cover system, the shooting, the dodge mechanic, and loot. You pick up one weapon, you equip that weapon. Do you know what would be bad? Do you know what would be bad game design? Creating a demo that asks players to learn that on the fly. That would be bad.
You don't need to learn it on the fly. Every gamer knows how to do that. It's not exactly like revolutionary. It's you press X to go to cover. You press circle to roll. Like, you don't need a tutorial.
Well, I'm looking forward to going back to your Twitch stream and clipping the part where your objective was to open the loot box and quit the machine gun, and you ran past it. So, but every gamer knows, Chris. I don't know if you've heard that.
That's because I'm sorry. No. That's exactly indicative of why it was stupid, because it put you into a section where it was nothing like the real game, and then it started giving you waypoints on a map and saying, "Go over here, go do that, go and talk to this person, go and come." It was completely pointless.
How was it? How do you know? How was it not representative of the game when that sequence was just a linear combat sequence?
Because none of what you do at the beginning of the game, which is whereby you're learning to do the shooting, you're learning to do like the cover stuff. If you pick a class like I did, where none of that stuff matters, that's not really how you play the game.
If you think the shooting and the cover system don't matter to the rest of the game, then you haven't played the rest of the game. Do you know what am I talking about? I only played 6 hours of this game, but more than you. Like, I should know my place.
It was just. It felt like they were trying to.
Do you know what? Can I, Jonesy? Can I tell Chris something? I was playing this game with Jonesy earlier.
Yeah.
Jonesy was hosting a game. I joined him. Yeah. Jonesy decided to fast travel back to the starting hub, and it gave me an option on the screen saying Jonesy wants to fast travel, do you want to opt in? And I had to press a button and opt in and fast travel us together. Jonesy complained about that. He goes, I'm not sure I like that. I don't really like it when it gives you a voting system in a game. If you're a team leader, party leader, I think you should be able to make the decision to fast travel.
Yeah, but would you fast travel back to the hub and then you decide you're just going to chill?
No, mate. Anything you want to do in this game, you have a vote. So if you were playing online with other people and you were like, "Hey, man, I don't know these people, but let's go and do this mission."
But it's like you've never played a modern multiplayer game. Then
some of them don't do it. Some of them do it. Like, you don't have the option in a lot of games. You don't. This is okay. For example, when you're playing Warzone, this is a
weird gripe, Jonesy. This is a weird gripe.
When you're playing Warzone and someone clicks,
I hate that they're giving me options.
It's not an option. So
it is an option.
It's not an option. So what I'm saying is, when you're in the game,
so hold on.
You want to start the mission.
You travel back, and then Jamie gets given the option if he wants to follow you or not. No. The definition.
I can't travel. I can't travel back unless Jamie agrees.
To be fair, I don't actually know what happens if I say no. If it's
it's Chris, as you said, I have no option. So I can host a game, I can be playing with other people, I can say I want to fast travel back to the main world. Jamie can say no, I don't want to do that yet, or just not answer the question, and I can't go anywhere.
Are you sure? Okay, then that is fucked. I do.
It's
admit,
a stupid thing.
Are you sure that that's what happens?
If it's my party, I should be able to make him come with me.
No. Other way around, Jonesy. If he says no, can you just go back to the hub and Jamie stays where he is? Because that's what happens in Diablo.
We don't know that. We don't know that. We didn't try that.
No, you don't. Guaranteed. You want to bet?
I don't know either way. We didn't try it. I've got no idea.
Okay, can I just put something out there for any listeners that are gonna try the Outriders demo? Let us know if you fall on Jonesy's side, because I'd be interested to know. It sounds a little bit mental to me.
Can I give you an example? Let me give you a little an example from games that everyone will kind of get. I like it in racing games when they give you the souped up adapted, tricked out car at the beginning of the game to let you get a feel for what the game will feel like when you're further along. Then you have the stupid thing where it says, "Oh, you've lost your car and you've got to go back to racing banger again," because it gives you a flavor. This demos nowadays do the reverse to that, where they go, "No, you start out at the very beginning, you put like an hour and a half into this thing before you actually get into what the game's going to play, and then you might go, oh, I don't really like this, not for me, I'm never going to play it." So you've just wasted an hour and a half of your life.
But it's the start of the game. It's the start of the game.
The demo should not be at the start of the game. The demo should not be the start of the game.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Jonesy.
The demo shouldn't be the start.
I think if you want to know what you're getting yourself into, guess what? The start of a game is a pretty good thing.
No, it's not.
I'm going to talk about a demo that starts in the middle of the game, and it is a big issue.
I want a slice of the middle of the game that's indicative of what the game's like.
I do get where Jones is coming from, but I think if you're making a demo which includes a character creation tool, which this one does, which is going to transfer over to the final finished game, which this one does, and we're also talking about let's be honest, if you want it to be, by skipping cutscenes, 20-minute to half an hour long prologue that essentially just tutorializes the core mechanics of the game and never has to be played again for as long as you go back to that demo, no matter how many times you restart or how many different classes you get to choose from. I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. And if you don't mind it, if you like it, then that's fair enough. It always just feels odd to me.
I mean, I'll put it this way. Today was the 4th time I've played that opening.
Oh, really? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. I think
if anyone should
my
have a
hair
gripe
out
with it should be Jamie then.
It was like, oh, yeah.
Do you know what it is?
Haven't done this in a year.
I tell you what else. One of the things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way then with this was you could feel that the game you weren't playing the game as you would be playing it because the controls didn't feel right for the situation. And you know when they use like an engine and game mechanics in a game that are obviously not indicative of how the game's really going to play. As an example, I'd say Marvel's Avengers story sections where you're walking around and looking at things and trying to do things slowly feels trash because the game is supposed to be running, jumping, smashing things.
Yeah,
it's built to be runny, jumpy, smash things. The sections in the early part of this game where it's like walking around and doing it just feels a little wonky to me. It felt a little odd. As soon as you go to Gears of War mode and you're sprinting around and shooting people, it felt fine. The last thing I'll say is that I feel like they're being tricky and that they're trying to trick me, Jamie, into playing their game, and that's the reason I don't like it that much.
I think that it's a demo, and I think that's what demos have been since the dawn of mankind. I don't think it's a trick.
They're using their loot psychology to say, you've already invested 2 hours in the linear narrative of this story. You should get the pre-order and carry on the story.
That's what a demo does. It makes you go, oh, maybe I want to buy this video game. Maybe I want to buy this product. Do you know what?
Fair enough, but a demo. I think like a demo should go, do you like it? If yes, buy it. Whereas I think some of these demos say it doesn't matter if you like it because now you're connected to it psychologically.
Bullshit.
You have no choice.
No one on planet Earth is psychologically connected to Outriders. I kind of want to go back and play more of it, but I'm not psychologically connected to it. I think it seems like it's good fun, but I mean, I'm playing the same 3-hour chunk that I played a year ago, and it's kind of hard to know where it goes beyond that. Nope. Like, it's hard to know what the loot is like. It's hard to know what the end game is like. It's hard to know what the story's like. You can be optimistic, but we'll see.
Hey, I think more demos that let you carry over stuff, nothing but a good thing.
Yeah. No. Okay. No. Like
the reluctance in Jonesy's voice.
Yeah, I can see if I can say that if you like that stuff, fair enough. If people out there enjoy it, I just feel like I don't know. They used to do it differently, and I don't know. I kind of like the old ways. Maybe I'm just getting old.
See, this is exactly. This is just a back in my day rant. It all makes sense now.
Yeah. There you go.
Right. Well, anyway, I'll tell you guys what I was been doing just very quickly, very briefly, because I've been playing more Magic the Gathering. Fine, whatever. Make fun of me if you will. But I also appeared on the Just Interesting podcast, fellas. And that episode is going to be dropping soon-ish. I'm not entirely sure. Probably on the weekend. So you can look forward to that on Just Interesting. On podcast platforms of your choice, but also on YouTube.
Why does that sound familiar?
But a couple of other things, okay? So I've been playing some Dota, which is good. But the reason I bring it up is because I've been streaming it. Yes, back in the streaming game.
Oh, okay.
Twitch TV, Hot Panic. So go check it out. When I stream some more, probably won't be Dota, but I don't know what it'll be. Everyone's fucking streaming Valheim, so I might as well just get on that.
I swear Steph has been streaming like every day this week.
Yeah. There must be something to it because it's got like 5 million people playing on Steam or some shit like that.
Yeah, a lot of people are into it.
I also tried out, talking of demos, I tried out that Project Triangle Strategy.
Yes, from the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten very far in it, but I think I can confirm that it is both good and bad.
Right, okay.
If that makes any sense. It is as stifled as that trailer made it seem, with very few fantastical elements. And funnily enough, Jonesy, it is a demo that drops you in the middle of the game.
So you mean a proper demo?
So it's like, hey, this is about halfway through the game.
So
we've adjusted a few things. They even say, a little pop-up window says, you're not really going to know what's going on, but we just hope you get the feel for it. It's like, okay.
So you're saying there are no psychological mind tricks, Chris?
Yeah, no psychological mind tricks. I was not I have not clung to it. I think it's very flawed. I like those kind of games in terms of the strategy elements of it, with the grids and all that, and the different characters with different abilities. Like you got your archers and you got your spies and your all that shit, and that's all cool. But I just think that they've just completely gone about it the wrong way. It's like you enter an area, there's a bunch of exposition, which is like the most fucking dense bullshit you've ever heard in your life. Then you go into a battle area, but then there's a pre-battle phase where you can walk around talking to the people on your team and do your equipment and go do a separate shop and buy potions, whatever you need, right? And then there's the actual battle phase itself, which feels like it takes like fucking 5 years to do anything. And then you do something, it's like, oh, well, that was cool. And then it's just like rinse and repeat. And it's
that sounds terrible.
It's like,
I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, it's like pulling teeth. It's like, why? I think I briefly touched on it last week's episode, but why didn't they just make another Final Fantasy Tactics? Which would have been so much better. Don't have to add in all the new things. Don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just give people what they want with the new style. I don't know.
They've got other plans for the Final Fantasy franchise, Chris, as we'll see later.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll get to that very soon. But the last thing I'm going to say is a reason why I haven't been playing much variety of games is because I've been binge watching something on Amazon Prime. I've been watching The Patriot, and not the Mel Gibson epic, but rather Gibbo, but rather a TV series called The Patriot, made by Amazon Prime, actually, like Amazon Prime original or whatever they call it, exclusive. It's only 2 seasons. I think it's been cancelled already, but it is fucking great.
There's something about watching a show that has already been cancelled. That's kind of...
I know, but this is really good, and it's really fucking quirky and funny, and it's highly recommended. I don't want to say too much. Go watch a trailer if you're interested in quirky, well-made, funny things. It's set in the modern world, okay? I think it's set in like 2012, even though it's like a year old or 2 years old. But yeah, go check it out. Anyway, listen, guys, one of the main reasons we are here is because PlayStation had their State of Play event where they showed off 10 games, some known, some unknown, a few surprises here and there. But this was, again, much like we said about the Nintendo Direct, at this stage, we're going to expect that all of these first showings from these companies are going to be the Band-Aid moments. Let's pull the Band-Aid off, just show people something, we've got it done, and then we can move on to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, with the big thing probably coming in the summer, right? Would you
Sure,
agree?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think. And I've said it multiple times, and I'll say it again. The only expectations these shows will fail to surpass are the ones you set yourself. If you thought that Elden Ring was going to be at the state of play, you thought that Elden Ring was going to be at the state of play.
Yeah, no one else. You have no one else to blame but yourself.
Yes.
Well, look, just so there were 10 games shown off, so we're going to go through each of them just very, very quickly. Some of them warrant more discussion than not. But they started off with Crash Bandicoot 4, About Time, coming to the PS5, native 4K, 60 FPS, faster loading time, adaptive triggers. Stop me if you've heard this before.
Chris, do you know what I have to say to that?
Yeah, stop.
It's about time.
Oh, wow, it's about time.
Do you get it? Because
yeah, very clever.
It's about time. It's
very
about
clever.
Very intellectual. Congratulations.
Yeah, I've got to give credit to the folks over at whoever the fuck made that video game. They came up with it, but
Well, there we go. More Crash Bandicoot goodness that your save transfer is possible. And cards, this is cool. Cards can be used to jump between levels. You know, which is that like you pause on the PlayStation thing and the cards pop up with blah blah blah. So that's pretty cool.
That was a cool feature in Astro's Playroom.
Yes, for sure.
Is that you could hop into different levels almost instantaneously through the cards. So it's a good thing to hear. They've got it here as well.
It's pretty cool. But I mean, with a game like Crash Bandicoot, where it's not necessarily pushing the graphical envelope, as it were, is it really a surprise that on fucking PlayStation 5, which is so powerful to say, oh yeah, it's native 4K 60 FPS. That's like, oh, and it's got fast load times. Selling point.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, boys.
I suppose they have to say it, otherwise what do they say?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jonesy. Like Chris, you're right in that it's stating the obvious, but at the same time, like, what's the alternative? Like, just not say anything, in which case it's like, looks shiny. It's like,
you kind of think that they should have
nowadays.
like a catch-all label. Like, I guess Xbox kind of tried it, but I guess they've abandoned it with the kind of like optimized for Series X or whatever it was. Which
but
kind
even
of
that is like it's too loose. Like, it never means the same thing.
Well, maybe that's probably why they abandoned it, right?
Maybe, yeah.
All right. Well, look, from Crash Bandicoot, which looks like a hell of a lot of fun anyway, to Returnal, which is I still going to say it's Soccer Mom the game.
Chris's most anticipated game of 2021.
But look. Okay, there are some interesting things because they showed off some more gameplay. It does look good. It looks like a solid gameplay kind of thing. In terms of the gameplay, kind of reminds me of, funnily enough, Control. Right?
Yeah,
obviously,
I know why. Yeah.
But I do get those vibes. Just sci-fi, fine. But I was kind of saying that, like, you know, it does have the potential to be that sleeper hit that's like, hey, this game is actually fucking cool and everybody should be playing it. It could be that. It could also just be absolute shit. Who knows?
I think from what I've seen of Returnal, that if the story and stuff's strong and if the reason to keep playing that game is, broader than the gameplay stuff that we've seen, I could see it being a sleeper hit. But it's one of those question marks, I guess.
Well, Jonesy, I think it might be. Sorry, Jamie, what were you going to say?
Oh no, I was just going to say it's actually funny that that's the discussion we're having because with Housemarque, the developers, you usually look at their products and say, okay, the kind of arcadey, fast-paced action is the thing they're going to nail, and it's everything else around it we're not sure about. Whereas this one, it's kind of like, oh, what's this soccer mum doing on this planet and all these different environments? That's intriguing, and it's the actual arcadey shooting because it's the first time they've done a third-person perspective that I'm looking at least and going like, I hope that feels slightly better than it looks.
Yeah, I hope it translates. Well, interestingly enough, and especially with Jonesy saying kind of like, where's the scope? Where does it go? They then started to go into this weird kind of like first-person mode of she goes into a house and it's like very strange PT Resident Evil vibes. I didn't really get it, I must be honest. Maybe I just got to go back and watch that trailer, but interesting.
I think in the trailer they mentioned, didn't they, about like her own nightmares, like visiting her own nightmares, and it gave me vibes of like Divine Comedy kind of thing, like Circles of Hell, and and there's a film, isn't there, with who is it? I think it's based on that, where the guy goes and he's trying to get his wife back, and then he finds her in their own house, like in.
You think of Inception?
No, it's not Inception. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say it's like a. Jesus Christ, what's the guy's name? I can't remember. No, I can't. It's nearly like half one in the morning.
Can you remember an actor in it?
Yes, but who's the guy who killed himself? The comedian, the funny guy.
Oh, you're talking about What Dreams May Come.
Robin Williams.
How did you just pull that from? I've never
because
even
I
heard of that
described the
film.
movie. I described the movie.
Heard of it.
Because
you're 10 years old, you haven't seen lots of movies.
I'm more of a 1 hour photo fan where he forces chicks to get their clothes off with a knife.
Oh.
But I want to say there's in What Dreams Will Come, there's a bit where he like battles his way through like hell or nightmares or whatever to find his house that his wife is in, and she's keeping herself there through weirdness. And I got really strong vibes of that when they pulled this, which I found intriguing. I thought it looked more interesting.
Yeah, well, it's also an irrelevant question because Dreams came out last year. No, nothing. Nothing. Not even like. I mean, Chris,
that is
Chris
the most weak-ass
okay.
joke I've heard you make in such a long time.
I'm trying out here. Look, I'm working with what you give me.
You're entitled to it, mate. It's very late/early, so you know.
Hey, listen, from one weak-ass thing to another, maybe Knockout City, which is like that weird.
Yeah,
they've shown it before.
Dodgeball, the game.
But it's this weird. Did they show it at the Switch?
It was in the direct. Yeah.
It was in the fucking direct as well. But yeah, it's more of that, which is dodgeball meets characters. And I don't know what else to say about it.
With maybe like a hint of Splatoon in there almost. I don't know why.
Definitely.
I keep coming back to Splatoon.
I thought Splatoon actually. It's funny you said that. It does have that vibe.
But we were kind of saying that like if it's a PS Plus game, there's a potential for that to be quite popular, I imagine, because it does look like it could be a bit of fun, but I don't think it would be a game that you'd necessarily want to spend your money on.
Right. It's like EA had this. I mean, this is an EA game for anyone wondering. They had this exact same thing a few months ago with that game. I think it was called Rocket Jump, which is just like, how are you going to get anyone? Exactly. You're pulling a face. Like, how are you going to get anyone to fucking play it? Like, no one's going to drop even 10, 15 quid on this. Like, just on looks of not enough people to sustain it and for word of mouth to really take off. Yeah. You kind of need like a PS Plus tie-in or a Games with Gold tie-in or Games Pass, or you need a free weekend, or you just need like rampant marketing and promotion through like Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. We'll see how it goes, but it's a tough sell.
Yeah, it seems a little bit niche. It doesn't seem like it has what Fall Guys had going for it. It doesn't seem like it has what Rocket League had going for it or has going for it. I think it's tough, man. It's tough to release these kinds of games these days.
It's interesting to see if you guys agree, but I think in these days, because the console games for PlayStation 5 and things are now moved up to that £70 bracket, it makes me even less likely to pick up even small titles for 10, 15 quid, because I know I'm going to have to outlay 70 quid at some point in the not too distant future for a proper full title game.
Yeah, save your funds for the big ones. Off.
Yeah. Like the purchasing decision has changed across the board, not just on the price, the games that are actually affected by the price increases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, from one game that I think we are kind of umming and ahhing about and saying, it could be fun, but only if it's free, to one that I will definitely buy. I will spend my own money on this because this looks fucking sick. It's a game called Sifu. And besides the name being the little fucking gerbil dude in Kung Fu Panda, it just looks like a really rad, like, third-person martial arts game.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I got roguelite from this.
Oh, if it is, then I'm fucking even more so all over it.
Maybe.
And I'll tell you why. It was because the dude starts off really young.
Yeah.
And he's like training, and then he goes into the corridor and he's fighting his way through. And then it sort of flashes back and he wakes up in the same place and he's slightly older because he's got the longer hair.
Because he gets knocked
and then
out,
he does it again.
And then he grows a beard on the yeah, it's kind of cool. It's fun. Yeah. So it's weird. It almost, the trailer kind of shows its influences in a way, because the corridor scene that it starts off with, it was giving me the Raid vibes, very much so.
Yes.
And then it goes into a nightclub, which gave me kind of John Wick vibes. Obviously, this doesn't seem like there's any gunplay in the game, but that kind of feel, I guess, for lack of a better word. It just looks cool, man. It just came out of nowhere and it just kind of blew me away.
Yeah, those are the games that benefit the most from streams like these, right? When they've just got a trailer that just speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Like, be it through the art style or like the look and the feel of the combat. That's just one of those ones that just jumps off the page and it goes from something you've never heard of before to something that you're like, shit, yeah, I'd fucking play that.
Yeah.
I found the website for the game. Do you want me to read what it says?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So the kind of like the log line is one life enough to have kung fu? And so on the
that's
path,
feeling roguelike to me.
yeah, the hunt for the assassins of your family will take you through the hidden corridors of the city, from gang-ridden suburbs to the cold hallways of corporate towers. You have one day and countless enemies on your way. Time will be the price to pay. Careful positioning and clever use of your environment to your advantage are key to your survival. Throwable objects, makeshift weapons, windows and ledges. The odds are stacked against you. You'll have to use everything at your disposal to prevail. Kung Fu is path for the body and the mind. Learn from your errors, unlock unique skills, and find the strength within yourself to master the devastating techniques of Pak-Mei Kung Fu.
This sounds fucking cool, dude. This sounds fucking cool.
Sifu.
It's funny actually because when you look at
seafood and I eat it.
I said before this was a bit of a weak, it did seem like a little bit of a weak showing, but actually I think you guys nailed it. When you have something which doesn't have a big standout game or a multiple big standout games like this can really shine because we haven't got anything else, and then we're talking about this and saying how cool it looks. So actually these are the sort of games that do really well off the back of
I'm very keen on it. It's coming this year to PS4 and PS5, so that's cool. But I wonder if they're going to release on anything else. But hey, fuck it. It looks great. Yeah. Another game.
It looks like it's coming to PC. I'll say for Chris.
Sorry, it is.
It is coming to. It's going to be on the Epic Game Store. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. And another game that looks fucking cool is Solar Ash, the new game from the Hyperlight Drifter team, which seems to be following the aesthetic laid out by Hyperlight Drifter. But if Hyperlight Drifter was obviously 2D. And this is moving into 3D, but kind of shares the DNA, shall I say. But it seems like really cool, like parkour / rollerbladey movement and combat. It just looks cool. It's like, imagine Journey with combat.
You mentioned Journey, like the smoothness of the movement reminded me of, you know how parts of the Journey team went on to make Abzu, and then recently I think it's called The Pathless. It's almost got that almost like seamless, like flowing nature to it. Yeah. There was some of that going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. And obviously, like, Hyperlight Drifter was fucking cool and a lot deeper than maybe it seemed at some of the trailers. So, yeah, be interesting to see what happens with this one. And then, guys.
For sure.
Depending on who you are, this could have been the highlight of the show. I can tell you that from the three of us, it was not the highlight of the show because we are not the particular kind of audience that's going for. But there's a new Five Nights at Freddy's, which has been teased before, but this was more, I don't even know if this was fucking gameplay. It was something. But it was called like fucking...
Oh, sorry, yeah, I didn't put that in the document. I'll look it up.
Security breach or some shit like that.
It was exactly that, security breach. Five Nights at Freddy's security breach. Well remembered.
Yeah. It was a bit Five Nights at Freddy's goes Resident Evil Biohazard, wasn't it? It was like they've kind of got that thing where it.
Well, we kind of said like Outlast, like there's an area that you're running around rather than these rooms, and the baddie is after you, And I guess like Resident Evil, like Jack Baker, and just kind of constantly chasing you down. I'm sure. Yeah. I said it when we were watching it. I said, you know what? If I were a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I think I'd probably be jizzing over this.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know.
It looks good. It looked cool from usually what you see in Five Nights at Freddy's. I thought it looked cool from
because of Alex Jones, because shit's actually moving instead of static JPEGs that then there's like some shit fucking jumps out of you, like cheap jump scares.
But I think Jamie made the point, and I think he was bang on, that a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's just kind of looks like it's been the most like low energy, like with the way they've selected fonts and they've done some stuff.
Like, bro, it's the fonts that like do my nutting. I just don't get it. Like, just choose something else. There's loads of them. Most of them are free. It's crazy. It's a wild world there for fonts. I will say one tweet has caught my eye since this trailer dropped, which is the developer behind Five Nights at Freddy's has confirmed that in this new game, Freddy Fazbear will be 9'6". So if you want to get stepped on,
step on me, Freddy.
This is the only first-person horror game you need this season. Okay,
gotcha. Fucking strange. And talking of strange, the next game they showed off was Oddworld Soulstorm, which. Hey, guess what? If you like Oddworld games, you'll like Oddworld Soulstorm. Fucking hell.
Do you know what? They've showed that game fucking so many times over the last 2 years, and yet that still seems to be the best takeaway that I've ever heard anyone have from it, Chris. Which is like, it's It's an Oddworld game.
That's an Oddworld game.
So,
yeah.
Do you like Oddworld?
You'll like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, they showed a trailer with various gameplay mechanics. Some cool stuff, some stuff you kind of expect. I think, Jonesy, you said it's like, hey, they're not really breaking the formula much, are they?
It's been like 20 odd years, 25 years or something, and they're still making the games that look exactly the same. But part of me is like, oh, they're just making the same game again and adding more stuff. But at the same time, they've got a very cool formula, and I think there's a lot of charm to those games. And so there's something to be said for just like really polishing that, and like making it the best version it can be. I'm sure it'll be very cool, and I'm sure if you like Oddworld games, you will be really into it.
And I'm sure because the genre is kind of few and far in between, so more of them, you're welcome.
Although,
so
this will. Oh, don't worry. I think we're going to say the same thing, more or less.
I was going to say the strange thing is that with the DualSense like capabilities, I guess it seems like every PS5 game is like, now they've got to think of how do you add DualSense stuff. So what they've done in this one is Abe, the character you're playing, you get to feel his heartbeat. So I guess if he's shitting himself, it's just, your controller is just fucking constantly going, vibrating like a fucking madman.
It's like you said, Chris, it's early days enough that everyone's looking for gimmicks, right? Everyone's looking for things to do with that thing.
Yeah, which is, fair enough. It's better adoption than fucking Nintendo's HD Rumble, so why not? Kudos to them.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't feel fucking Link's heartbeat in Breath of the Wild, could you? So they're already one-upping them.
That's very true.
Yeah. But anyway, that game is coming out on April the 6th, which is soon, in case you didn't know, but also announced that it is a PS Plus game for April, which is nice.
That's another one that, like, I think that's been the theme with Destruction All-Stars and Bugsnax and even Maneater to a certain extent, that the PS5 games that they're making free continue to impress me.
Yeah, I like. They don't need to. It's great.
Yeah,
but it is also hard though, right? Because on PS4, it's almost like you have the luxury of the back catalog. You say, "What are you going to give away free this month?" And it's like, you just give them a game from last year. But with the PS5, it's like, well, fuck, what are you going to do? You got to give them the PS5 game, so you've got to give them a new game.
But then this month just gone, they technically did it twice over. Like, I didn't expect Control's PS5 edition to be free as well. So I don't know who's cashing the checks on these things or who's writing them for that matter. But I continue to be surprised and kind of impressed.
Yeah.
Especially when games with gold has suffered so much as a result of Game Pass's sort of dominance. It's interesting.
Yeah, true. And also, I guess the sum of the parts, maybe PlayStation in terms of the quality of stuff coming out is definitely skewed towards PlayStation over Games Pass. Games Pass is great, don't get me wrong. I still fucking love that service. But you're not really getting a lot of the higher tier games on there, are you? At least not until Microsoft pull their finger out of their arse.
Right, that's the key thing. Like, until those games will come out, but for the time being, like, what is it? It's the medium, and then, like, what else was there recently? I don't even know. Dirt 5 games a Game Pass faster than I thought it would, but that's I don't know, like,
but
stories like that.
It seems to be more PlayStation skewed, but that pendulum will swing. But that's just kind of where it is at the moment. All right, then moving on from that, we saw some more Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which, hey, guess what? Still looks fucking gorgeous. Still made by the same team that made a gorgeous looking trailer and made a gorgeous looking fucking Majora's Mask tribute. So yeah, they showed off some cool combat, some cool puzzles, and then some weird fucking very Majora's Mask moment where we put the fucking wolf mask on and then cut to Kenna Bridge of Spirits kind of title card, and then a fucking zombie thing made of other bodies came out as a little tease.
Yeah,
that's pretty fucking.
That was
sick.
cool, man. That was pretty cool.
And that's coming out in August 24th on PS4 and PS5. So that's cool.
I'm looking forward to that.
Then we're rounding out to one of the enigmas, I guess, for me at least, with good pedigree, is some more Deathloop in a very stylish trailer showing off a lot of kind of gameplay. But
a very Bond-esque trailer, wasn't
very
it?
Bond-esque, very, very Bond kind of music playing in the background. Kind of unclear what we were seeing as how it related to the central gimmick on the game. It still hasn't answered things that I still have question marks over it. it's still a question of like, is it going to be too overwhelming to remember all of these routines? I mean, I'm sure they'll do it well. I mean, it is Arcane. They their systems for their games kind of make their games, so I expect it to be good. But as I was watching the trailer, I was kind of thinking, man, this would be sick as some kind of like a battle royale or squad-based shooter in this island.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what that trailer felt like to me. It felt like, hey, you've got this character and you can do these moves and you pick up these guns and this really interesting kind of map to kind of fuck around with.
Yeah. I think like there's a question out there around Deathloop that I don't really need or want answered for myself, but I'd be very curious to know the answer for the sake of the game's long-term success, right? And whether or not it's a hit with audiences, which is that if someone picks this up off a store shelf, which I know is a foreign idea in the time of COVID, so maybe they pick it off at the digital store shelf, and they think they are getting let's say I'm not going to say a linear first-person shooter, but let's just say a level or stage-based first-person shooter that's like along the line of Dishonored, so it blends elements of stealth with abilities and stuff like that. But you kind of move from stage to stage, killing a person. Do they have to grapple with the ideas such as the rival assassin who comes to kill you, or the fact that everything's on a loop, so you die it almost wants you to die and do stuff again? Do you have to engage with those mechanics to such a point that it can't be enjoyed as a traditional first-person shooter with power elements?
Well, that's the thing about this game. I just don't know. It's just strange. I said it when we were watching it. I said, if ever there was a game that if you're unsure, you turn to Twitch and your favorite streamer and see them play it, and then just kind of be like, so that's how that fucking works. Okay.
Yeah. True, true.
The weird thing about this game is that it seems like the main premise is you get to do it again and again. Everything's the same, so you can really figure out, like you're saying, that the Groundhog Day thing of who goes there, who moves there, who does that. But as soon as you throw the element in of the other person trying to kill you, you throw everything out of whack. So you take the main premise and then fuck it all up. Yeah. And say,
it's
how
long
does that
are you going
work?
to take to learn these routines? And then once you learn them, are you going to be annoyed when someone comes in and starts fucking around with you?
That's what I wonder. Because the most similar I could think of a game at the moment is like Hitman. So you can replay levels in Hitman and everyone does the same things again and again, and you can figure out where people go, how they do it. Imagine if someone just came into Hitman and started messing with everyone. That would just piss me off. Yeah. Like, it's a good question. I want to know the answer to that as well. How does that actually function?
Hey, well, I guess we wait until your favorite streamer, twitch.tv/hotpanic, plays the game so you can make up your mind.
So basically what you're telling us to do is don't make a purchasing decision until, let's say, Christmas 2022.
Yeah, pretty much, with my current track record. Yeah. But anyway, then we come out to a nice little surprise to kind of put a cap on what was an okay state of play. I think we said like some interesting surprises on the middle end of non-AAA spectrum, as it were. But and this one certainly was AAA, is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which is a really fucking weird name, but basically the PS5 upgrade to the PS4 game. And it's a free upgrade. And what's cool is your progress saves over. Obviously, they're talking about like faster load times and better textures and frame rates and this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. That's all cool. But what they're also adding is a Yuffie chapter. I mean, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yuffie. There was a debate when we were watching it about what it actually is, because guess what? When you play the original Final Fantasy VII, all it is a fucking text box. So I'm going to say Yuffie. So Yuffie's chapter, which introduces, obviously, Yuffie as a playable character, and some companions, let's just put it that way. And that seems like it'll be a paid chapter add-on, probably as a DLC kind of thing, if you have to think of it that way, for PS5. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be available on PS4, because what they're saying is upgrade to PS5, and then once you have the PS5 version, you can get the Yuffie chapter. And that's kind of
the PS5 upgrade is free though, isn't it?
Yeah, the PS5 upgrade is free, which is good of them to do. They could have pulled the scumbag move like 505 Games and said, hey, pay for fucking Control all over again if you want the next gen.
Yeah, totally could have.
But yeah,
and
that
the
was
upgrade
really cool.
looked nice.
The Yuffie stuff looks fucking sick, and it just made me want to jump back into Final Fantasy VII Remake.
The question is, Chris, how does this affect your outlook on PS5 ownership? That's what I want to know.
Well, the thing is, I still it's not like I don't want a PS5, so You know,
You heard it here first,
like
folks. Someone
Demon
send Chris a
Souls,
PS5, please.
What's that?
I said, someone send Chris a PS5, and I looked into the camera, so someone's going to do it. That's the way it works, right?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Wait,
let's
no.
try
Actually,
something.
if we wind it back, I need to be crying at the start.
Send me.
Look
a
in
PS5.
those puppy dog eyes. Tell me this man doesn't want a PlayStation.
But yeah, look, Demon Souls had me sold on PS5, and this even more so now, for sure. Because it would be cool. Because the fact that your progress carries over means I could do a new game plus, which would be cool.
Sure, yeah.
It does seem like this is one of the few times that they've done the old like side by side, like shot for shot comparison of the PlayStation 5 version and the PlayStation 4 version of a game. Like I don't think I've seen that many times with properly done, and it genuinely looked really impressive. Like the 60 frames a second stuff, the better textures, the better all the lighting stuff. It looked wicked. It looked much. I wouldn't have said the remake looked bad.
Oh no, not at all.
Then you see it side by side.
Except for when the textures wouldn't load in, and they were just like the fucking placeholder PS2 style textures, which really fucking grated me. But
I'm not going to lie. Like this made
it's
me
a good
think
game.
I might, I might pick up Final Fantasy VII Remake.
You
like,
are not going to pick up Final Fantasy. Don't lie to yourself.
It genuinely made me think that, which is I was surprised at probably more than you.
You know what, Jonesy? You know what?
Saying it.
Even on the PS4, it's a good fucking game. It is a solid, good game. But yeah, then now. Jamie found this out. I had no fucking clue, and you're going to get a bit of a live reaction here because apparently 2 Final Fantasy VII related mobile games were announced afterwards, not at the show, but like, I guess on Twitter or something. So
seemingly on Twitter, yes.
Here we go.
And so, yeah, for reference, like Chris, big Final Fantasy VII fan, but has intentionally not seen either of these. And they're both kind of spectacular and bizarre in their own ways. The first one, Chris, and you're like, I don't know if you want to, do you want to watch the videos in real time or do you just want me to describe them to you?
Just talk. It's
okay.
It's fucking hot. It's 1 a.m. Like,
yes.
What are we doing with our lives?
The first one is called Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, a battle royale game set in Midgar before the events of Final Fantasy VII. As a soldier candidate, make full use of your abilities in a battle for survival. And I'm flicking through a video now.
A battle royale?
And it is, it's a third person, like almost looks like PUBG Mobile, Final Fantasy VII characters running around Midgar, but like they've got the same like names over their heads, the same health bars.
Man.
Like... But it's a BR game. And at one point, like, someone's just firing an assault rifle and goes into first person to do it as well.
Weird. Okay.
It looks kind of like a sort of a knockoff of probably some kind of a pre-existing Battle Royale game that they kind of reskinned to work for Final Fantasy VII.
Right, okay. Which, I mean... Okay, fair enough. I mean... You know what? I don't play it, but PUBG Mobile is pretty fucking massive, isn't it?
I can't believe how big some of those mobile games are. That blows me away. Having played a couple of them, like how is this
in
this
Asian
big?
countries, it's absolutely insane. Did I want a Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale mobile game? I never even fucking occurred to me that such a thing
didn't know you wanted
exist.
it, did you?
But you know what the beautiful thing about this is? And maybe not from Square Enix, it probably won't be free, but like, it's a mobile game. It's not going to be that expensive. Just fucking give it a punt. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Probably going to be free, right?
Yeah, but it's Square Enix. I don't know if it would be free.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know what definitely won't be free?
Yeah.
The second mobile game that Square Enix presented today.
Okay,
Do you know what?
Hold on. Because if they've done a Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale, what's the next thing going to be? Like a Final Fantasy VII Rally game or something?
Card game. Card game.
I mean, if it was Final Fantasy VIII, that would make sense because they had a mini game that was a card game thing.
Not quite. Chris, when you don't know where to go and the path forward isn't clear, sometimes the best advice is to turn around and retrace your steps.
Okay.
What if I were to tell you that Square Enix are remaking Final Fantasy VII again? Introducing the mobile game Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, a chapter-structured single-player game covering the whole of the Final Fantasy VII timeline, including the events of the original game and the FF7 compilation titles.
And the compilation.
And it's like... The compilation titles meaning this includes Advent, Children, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, and Dirge of Cerberus.
I think for this, not to get like a react, because I can't picture it. Like I can picture what you're talking about, the battle royale. Like, but can you just sing it? Like I won't give you a live reaction, but just like scroll through some of the stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Because this sounds mental. So basically, it's like Final Fantasy VII remake Android edition.
Yeah, but it's almost like they're remaking the like PS1 style graphics with kind of like the kind of more chibi style. There's a link in the chat if you want to try and. But there's also like a cutscene.
Oh, there. Hold on.
There should be.
Okay, hold on. Okay, fine. What? Oh, weird. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know Chris is legit when he goes South Africa.
I'm very South African.
He's like,
it's like top down.
So it's lost
like
for words.
Isometric.
Yeah, but if you get to like maybe the 20-second point, you start to see how they're handling cutscenes and conversation. They've almost got like drawings like of the characters, and they're like having. But I presume it's like a like for like remake of the game, just in this new style that's going to come to mobile. But it's also got a combat system.
Was that
if you get to
what?
Maybe. Chris, if you get to around 1 minute 20, you'll see the combat, which again is kind of like has its own style, visually and mechanically by the looks of things.
It's a turn-based thing. Dude, I'm not going to lie. That looks fucking, like that looks fucking sick. That looks
This is the remake Chris wanted.
Yeah, maybe.
But like,
do you know,
the remake I wanted was the remake that they made. But this is like, I'll fucking take this. I'll take this any day. This is fucking cool.
Do you know what's weird? Do you know what I see when I look at this?
Yeah.
I see an opportunity to be able to engage with and absorb the entire Final Fantasy VII story without having to like mess around with the really drawn out way they're handling the actual remakes. Like,
yeah. But then
this is something I can just play.
So maybe
they can charge you for every chapter.
They refer to it as chapter structured single player game.
Dude, I'll pay for all the fucking chapters as long as it's cool. But I guess they kind of did this with Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, didn't they?
They did.
Where it was like the game,
that.
but they had different sprites, but it was stripped back. I hope it's not as stripped back as that game was. But that's cool.
Yeah.
That's sick, dude. Why didn't they fucking... I guess because it's mobile. That's why. Because it's not coming to PlayStation.
Right, yeah. I mean, but then again, like also Square Enix, Final Fantasy, like whichever angle you look at this from, they do weird stuff. Like, shit happens. I don't know.
Cool. That's actually... Wow. That's the winner for me, I think, maybe.
There's something that wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what... Okay, that's cool. But what was your guys' overall take on this state of play? Like I said, it's the Band-Aid one. It was decent. There were some surprises in terms of like some more Final Fantasy VII stuff. And some surprises in terms of saying, hey, Sifu looks fucking sick. You know, and Returnal seems odd and cool in a way. It could be a sleeper.
Like I think referring to it as a Band-Aid sort of stream is a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
And I very intentionally didn't get my hopes up for this.
I don't think
and
any
I just
of us
think
did.
like I think there are some things I just knew we'd see, like things like Returnal and what was the other one? Deathloop, just felt like nailed on things. And when you look at it as like a 10-game stream where you can kind of probably guess a small handful of them, and you're not expecting too many surprises. What I was happy with was there were little pops in terms of seeing Sifu for the first time, like you just said.
Yeah.
Oddworld being a PS Plus game, an updated look at Kenna, which I'm glad to see still looks as solid as it did last time, but now with a release date in sight. And even for me, like not the biggest admirer of Final Fantasy VII Remake, a nice, pleasant surprise that I can respect and acknowledge from that sort of sub-series.
Yeah.
I think like they did what they needed to do. And there's more to come, right? It's February. Like,
oh, yeah. Well, this is the lovely thing. We got fucking 10 months ahead of us.
Yeah, exactly.
But I had a question for you, Jamie, because you played Final Fantasy VII, and
I did.
You quite enjoyed it, although there were elements that you did, really dislike.
Spoiler cast live for patrons now at the $5 tier.
Yeah, exactly. Our first spoiler cast, which was fun. But does this? I mean, there's a free PS5 upgrade. Would you look into it? Would you go back to play that game? And would you be tempted by the Yuffie chapter?
Would I be tempted by the PS5 upgrade? Potentially.
Yeah.
I'd like to see like a slightly more detailed comparison. Jonesy rightly said that it's nice to see the side-by-sides, and it's something that we could actually do with probably a little bit more of overall. But I need to know, like, hey, does playing this at 60 FPS, for example, really make a big difference? And I'm not convinced it will deal with all of the issues that I had playing that game.
Sure.
And in the Yuffie chapter, it's like, it's such an unknown, right? Where watching the stream live with you, and we had some other guys in the chat who are familiar with FF7.
Yeah.
There was like clearly like it was this cool moment of like, oh wow, what are they doing? I didn't get that, and as someone who is still a little bit burnt by the ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake and that feeling of like it wants me to come with it so far and then is happy to abandon me at other points. I'm not saying this is another like a bit of abandonment, but it's another thing of like, okay, I can't. I'm the guy that still doesn't know who the fuck Sephiroth is. Like, I'm not that excited by 5-10 hours with Yuffie.
Yeah,
like, I'm the guy who you like didn't. I'm not gonna say other names because I don't need to spoil Final Fantasy VII Remake for no reason on a video like this. But like the ending of that game took me on a journey for 30 hours, and I felt like it just stopped holding my hand at the end.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Like,
I agree with you.
This isn't their attempt to grab my hand again. This is just another adventure they're having that, like, they're hoping I'm visually at least appealed by. I don't know. We'll see what the reviews are like.
I'm just disappointed that. Well, look, I'm excited that we've got a Yuffie chapter, but really what we needed was a Jessie chapter.
I mean, I'm down for that.
Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying.
A bit of eye candy. Jonesy might have downloaded the game if we get a standalone Jessie chapter.
The thirstiest character of 2020.
How thirsty Chris is for Jessie.
Oh no, she's the thirsty one. Jonesy.
Oh, she is, isn't she? She is.
And Cloud's the one who's clearly like he's probably gay at some point because he doesn't want to fuck anyone.
I think he's what's the fucking word?
Like
asexual.
Asexual. I was going to say androgynous, but I think that's the right
androgynous. Word. No, that was the really bad Mass Effect game.
Oh yeah, Mass Effect androgynous.
No,
that is the new one. That's what they call it.
That's the new one.
The future of Mass Effect.
The future of Mass Effect is androgynous. That's my favorite galaxy.
Brilliant. Okay, well, from one showcase to another, because BlizzCon happened over the weekend, fellas.
Did you?
Something that I can tell just by looking at him, the glazed over look on Jonesy's eyes as his background starts falling apart.
Oh God! Oh no! I bumped it. Here we go.
No, he's got blue. No, he's got blue. Oh God!
It's all gone Pete Tong. Here we go. The PlayStation 5 to
the rescue.
Oh, now I've got blurry.
Can you feel Abe's heartbeat yet, Jonesy?
What a disaster.
I can't yet.
What a fucking disaster.
Oh, look. Oh, this
it's
is so
focusing
good.
on my controller so good that you
good.
can actually see the little
This
pluses.
is so good. This is so
It's completely right. Come
Oh,
on.
my God.
Come on. There you go.
Oh,
We're back.
perfect.
We're back.
Perfect.
You biscuit.
And you're not that blue.
We're back.
Right, well, look,
Fuck.
Jonesy, for your information, a bunch of stuff was revealed at BlizzCon. I think the thing that most people are waiting for is the Diablo 4 news. So they had a new trailer, which was an in-game trailer with showing off a new character, new class, the Rogue, returning from Diablo 1, which is pretty cool. The trailer itself was okay. The gameplay, the way that this character plays seems very, very cool. But not going to get into too much of it. I was a little bit disappointed because in the last BlizzCon, obviously they had the Diablo 4 reveal with probably one of their best cinematics that I think that they've released in a very long time. The art direction and the graphical fidelity of that trailer was fucking absolutely world class, which is to be expected from Blizzard cinematic department, like one of the best in the world. But I don't think necessarily that coming out of that was the biggest thing. For me, the biggest thing was a remake of Diablo 2, Diablo 2 Resurrected. I think, was it called Resurrected? I think I might have got that.
No, I think
it
I
was.
think
It was,
you're right. Yeah.
Basically overhauling the game. If you imagine Diablo 3 kind of engine running Diablo 2, it looks pretty fucking good. Now, Am I excited by it? Yes. Am I worried about it? Yes. Blizzard had a fucking home run, or a potential home run, let's say, with the Warcraft 3 Reforged remaster.
Oh.
But hey, guess what? They fucked it up.
Don't invoke that. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So, the jury will be out, but it is coming out this year, so we won't have to wait too long. Another thing that potentially could be coming out this year, I don't remember if they actually said it was, but Diablo Immortal, the mobile game, which, you know what, that's Diablo.
That's been in some form of testing already, right? So I feel like it could be close-ish to release.
I mean, it should fucking be. Okay. I'll get to it after we cover some of this other stuff. So the rest of the stuff we're not really that much into, but we can kind of discuss a bit. They showed off some more World of Warcraft, like latest expansion stuff for the Shadowlands. It is what it is. If you like WoW and you like Shadowlands, I'm sure you'll be
WoW's still going. But here's the odd thing, okay? So was it last year or the year before? They released WoW Classic, which was a return to the vanilla World of Warcraft without any expansions or anything like that. And a lot of people were excited about it because it was a return to that kind of guild style of old school MMORPGs, blah, blah, blah. People were excited. It did really well. It was very well received. One of the few things at the time that Blizzard was congratulated for. But now they're going... See, this is where it gets weird for me. Because now they're releasing World of Warcraft Classic Burning Crusade, which was the first paid expansion for World of Warcraft. And I think it was still well received. But at this point, you've kind of got... It's like two parallel things of the same game just going, following each other. So, and if you release Classic in order to be the purest version, and because you want people to strip away everything else, then why start releasing all the shit that you meant that you had to bring out Classic in the first place?
No, Chris, let me break it down. Have you ever seen Primer?
Yes, I have. I still don't fucking understand it. No, but it's like, okay, so I think with each World of Warcraft expansion, criticism kept on mounting that they've been changing the game too much, so much so that custom servers were being made that were doing vanilla World of Warcraft. And then famously, Blizzard kind of got involved and shut them all down, and then started working with one of the devs of one of the ones that got shut down, whatever. Then they released World of Warcraft Classic, and people were like, yeah, this is fucking excellent again. But now are they just going to go through all of the expansions again? Like, what?
As long as people keep buying them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line, right? That's the Activision way.
Yeah.
Activision kind of getting involved there. But it's just kind of such a bizarre concept. Like, I get it. Like, probably Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, people will be more than happy to kind of get into. But after that, you start getting into that territory where Blizzard started messing with the formula way too much.
That's the thing. I think maybe this becomes impossible to kind of continue when there are too many fluctuations in the actual quality of the expansion and the way people remember it. Because you're absolutely, you touch on a really interesting point, which is that if there is nostalgia for obviously vanilla WoW and now Burning Crusade, which there is, then theoretically that nostalgia means that there's enough time between now and then for that nostalgia to develop, which means that every next, because the time difference is going to remain the same if they release them at the same intervals. Yeah. So there'll always be enough time for nostalgia until, as you said, we get to an expansion that no one liked. And I don't know WoW well enough to know which one that was, but
surely in a weird way, what could happen is you could end up having WoW Classic follows a few of the expansions, gets to a fork in the road where it was where most people weren't happy where it went. It goes a different direction, so then it doesn't follow the path anymore, and you end up getting rid of WoW as it exists today, and Classic becomes the new path, and effectively you see
someone get Gwyneth Paltrow on the phone. We got WoW sliding doors.
I can see that happening because it's almost like a re-envisioning of where it should have gone, and you effectively fix what you broke.
But
run WoW run. Yeah. Anyone?
It is kind of fascinating though, because I think I'm correct in saying that it's one subscription to World of Warcraft, and you get the current World of Warcraft and the classic World of Warcraft, and you just choose which one you want. So technically, you're not paying anything more for it. So I know we said that like making out that like Activision is getting involved and being very money hungry. You know, it is kind of fleshing out a subscription that would have been just one expansion, but now you're getting 2 different expansions. So that's good. But it's such a fascinating thing for me. Like imagine if
it's weird.
Imagine
it's fucking weird.
Yeah. Okay. How about this? Imagine if Destiny had this, and in the latest expansion, they're also like, oh yeah, but you can go back to vanilla Destiny 2 at the same time.
Yeah, and it was like a separate thing.
And it's like a separate thing with separate progression and separate characters. Like you can't have one character go between the 2 versions.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's so bizarre. And yet
it's the good timeline and the dark timeline, isn't it?
Yeah, the darkest
they're
timeline.
creating their... I wonder if part of it is, and maybe I'm being cynical as I like to be, but I wonder if part of it is because they managed to... They know they had a big success originally with more purist WoW. They want to bring more people on board, and what they need to do nowadays that it's been out for so long is they need to sort of regain some like grassroots new players to WoW, and maybe they're so far like down the wrong path that there's a barrier to entry for new players. So they're trying to fix that, and they're trying to bring more people on board. I don't think so.
I think maybe in terms of storyline, but in terms of it's weird, man. In terms of like the new WoW expansions, I think they're probably the most user friendly, as it were. But like,
I wonder if you would jump into it that far down.
Yeah, I don't know
the road. I don't know. I've never been a WoW player.
Here's another scenario for you. Okay, let's say I don't know what number Shadowlands expansion is. I think maybe number 8 or something. But so if that's number 8, and then what if it goes to another 8, and then that means that WoW Classic is caught up to the current expansion? Then do they just release a 3rd branch of it, which goes back to the first WoW Classic, and then you've got 3 fucking timelines going on?
It's like the episode of Doctor Who where the alien thing...
Here we go. The fucking nerds showed up.
The alien thing repeats everything Doctor Who says just after he says it, and it gets to a point where it repeats it so soon after he says it, like you can't even tell who said it first. And then the alien thing starts saying it first. So WoW Classic will suddenly slip in front, and will then have WoW bringing out expansions that have came to WoW Classic, and it will switch.
Man. Who knows when World of Warcraft will fucking start winding down? Madness.
That's the real question, yeah.
No, the real question, Jamie, talking about madness, Overwatch 2.0.
Yeah, Overwatch 2, baby. It's a video game.
It's a video game.
Going to be released at some point.
Long time, and hey, guess what? There's still no official release date. Although I think there were murmurings of 2022.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't understand what Blizzard are doing.
Do you know what? I watched most of the stuff that they showed, at least in that sort of like day one.
Yeah.
The day when they did most of their live streams from BlizzCon.
Yeah.
For Overwatch 2, and I'll be honest, I don't think I'm that much closer to you when it comes to understanding like exactly what they're going for. This was already, as we kind of us 3 were discussing before we started recording, such a weird prospect, right? Because they remain somewhat committed to keeping Overwatch 1's, let's call it, core multiplayer going, and kind of weaving that into the experience of Overwatch 2, and yet trying to kind of bolt more elements onto Overwatch 2 that make it worth the price of admission. And what I saw from that stream was that it looked to me like they're kind of struggling to do that.
Yeah.
Namely because the thing that I think a lot of people have their eye on are these sort of PvE elements, right? As opposed to Overwatch just being a core PvP game.
That's kind of how I saw it. I saw Overwatch 1 as being the PvP and Overwatch 2 being the PvE with a kind of like a campaign. But
that's the thing, it's not a campaign.
It's not a campaign. Like, it's like little vignettes or something, isn't it?
It's little story mission sections, isn't it? Like
exactly. And I think they're called hero missions, and the idea is you kind of assemble a co-op team of of Overwatch's core heroes, and you compete on sometimes they're the same as the multiplayer maps, sometimes they're variations, sometimes they're maps, but they open up new areas within them. But you still do sort of like somewhat similar objectives. Like there is literally a hero mission, a PvE hero mission, where you are standing around a thing trying to push it along a path.
The payload, fucking hell.
The payload, yeah. So it's like, are we just doing PvP stuff against like waves of enemies? Like, is that what we've been waiting, when this comes out 5 years for? 6 years for?
Well, that's why I say I don't know what they're doing. Like, literally, I do not know what they're doing with their time that is taking this long. Are they trying to crack the formula and they're just not doing it?
I don't know.
In which
case, there's nothing they can do. But there's nothing they can do. Because you can't cancel
what if you made an actual
1.
campaign? Like, what if you cashed in on the fact that there's so much lore and story and character and really cool like cutscenes and cinematics? Like, what if you tried to make a first-person shooter campaign?
Yeah, like
I'd love to see him do that. But talking about Overwatch, that couldn't be called Overwatch 2 though. I would be surprised if they could call that Overwatch 2 because you'd expect it then to be a branch off to be a new kind of like a new IP, even though it's based on
Overwatch
an
Immortal. Yeah,
yeah, right. But if you want to talk about Overwatch 2, like they have a problem because you can't make. This is the same problem that Call of Duty are now having with Warzone. You can't get rid of Warzone because it's bigger than. It's almost like the thing you create becomes bigger than you, right? They can't make Overwatch 2 without screwing up their market for Overwatch 1, so they do some weird PvE bullshit that no one's asked for.
But I think they can, Jonesy, and I think they've completely blown it because if you differentiate it enough that you can sell it as 2 different packages, sure, don't call it Overwatch 2 because it's not a sequel, but if you say, hey, this is Overwatch Immortal, for lack of a better fucking word or name, say Overwatch Immortal is set in the Overwatch world and it is a single player campaign, like a robust campaign.
That's a much better idea.
People will be all over it. And guess what? That doesn't impede in Overwatch 1 whatsoever. But what they've done now is they've kind of shot themselves in the foot by saying it's this kind of weird PvE thing, but it's not really a campaign and it relates to Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 1 gets benefits from whatever comes out in Overwatch 2. Like, what's the fucking point? I just don't understand it. They've just basically taken a mode. Sorry, Jonesy. They've taken a mode that would exist in any normal game. You look at the fucking Battlefield games where they've got those little vignettes that come out where that's their single player campaign where it's like, oh, you do this little storyline and then you do that little storyline. And then, hey, guess what? The multiplayer's there. That's basically what they're doing, but they spun it out into 2 different products. It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The only thing I can say in their defense is that there's a part of me that looks at Overwatch 2 and says, oh, like Overwatch 2, new title, number behind it, some new content that isn't available in Overwatch 1. It's going to be on PS5 and Xbox Series X. It's going to revitalize the player base. It's probably not going to be full price. I don't know if I don't remember the first Overwatch game being at full price anyway. And like maybe it just ends up being a good excuse to get back on board a game that I fell off pretty hard.
Right.
Maybe.
And like maybe there are enough suckers like me who just kind of like fall into the trap of like, oh, Overwatch 2, it's literally a sequel to a massively successful game and that's a big deal. But yeah, it doesn't take away what you guys are saying. If anything, it just makes people like me look stupid, right?
I think
the last thing I was going to say, the last thing I was going to say about those hero missions, one thing that I just remembered was that they were talking about them and they were explaining how they think they're going to get to the point where eventually there will be hundreds of hero missions in the game. And I think when they said that, it sounded like they felt like they were saying that as like great content. Look at all the stuff we're going to get in the game. And all I heard is someone who could see what they were demonstrating in the game is great. You've created a system with enough variations in maps, objectives and enemy types that you like algorithmically you can generate lots of different variations on something that fundamentally will be very, very similar depending on the combination of heroes you use. Yeah. And that's disappointing.
And
it's the Borderland gun thing.
I was going to say it's the Anthem problem because Anthem was always like, no, but wasn't it? Anthem was like, go here, activate this node, wait for defend from a wave of enemies, and then go to the next objective and do the exact same thing, and then go to the next objective and do the exact same thing. It's so fucking weird.
If anyone at home wants like a fantastic kind of like summarization of where Overwatch 2 is struggling from the developers themselves, look up from BlizzCon the Overwatch 2 section of their panel, which was devoted to how they're trying to redesign the core Overwatch characters, only to accidentally illustrate how difficult it is to redesign the Overwatch characters. And it's literally this video you're watching like an artist saying like, it was my job to try and like modernize McCree, and then you see like the variations that they didn't choose in the final version, and it's basically a person saying, in the end, I couldn't change McCree very much because it's McCree, but this is the new McCree.
Yeah, he's got a new poncho.
His belt is a different colour. I couldn't take off his hat because it's McCree, and I couldn't also. But his beard, there's literally a bit where he goes, and the beard is slightly longer. And they're talking about McCree. And it's like that's what your game is now. You couldn't change you had. Yeah, I don't.
But
McCree's beard is slightly longer.
It's a victim of its own success, and I think one of the things, and Jamie, you saying about like the single player, a single player game with the same characters, is a great idea. Like I would genuinely love to play that. It sounds wicked. The problem I think they would have is, and why that would never happen, is because it would get 0.1% of the success that Overwatch had, even if it did really well. And so the problem they have is Overwatch 2 can only be Overwatch 2 if it replaces Overwatch 1, in which case it has to include the PvP stuff. And I think that's it's not gonna, and it was because then that would be so risky. Like I kind of feel like, I think as you said, Jamie, if they did do a wholesale new Overwatch 2 that said, come to Overwatch 2, it's got new maps, it's got the same characters but some new characters, and it's got newer stuff and it's got better graphics, I feel like they could migrate their audience, a large chunk of it. And then
they could. Call of Duty migrate their audience every single year.
They didn't this year. Warzone, Modern Warfare has absolutely smashed it in 2020 compared to like how well Cold War did. And that's the first time it's happened that the new COD didn't smash the biggest game of the year things.
It did sell very well, but it's just that the retention from Modern Warfare was also the highest we've seen maybe
but that's all from Warzone though, right?
Yeah, that helps. Yeah,
and they have, but that's now the problem that COD have is that Warzone is so popular and so successful and is updated. It's become its own separate entity, right? So
but I think the problem is this, fellas. Like,
but they all have the same bloody problem.
Yeah. Okay, Overwatch came out in 2015. Okay, it's a 6-year-old game. It's a 6-year-old game. You know what? If you had to say to an audience of a 6-year-old game, here's a second version. It's better in every single way. Yes, it's the same game modes, but we've improved absolutely everything across the board. The engine has been improved. The characters have been improved. Guess what? You will migrate your fucking audience because it's a 6-year-old fucking game.
It's still risky though. Like,
it's not.
I think it's risky.
It's really
risky.
not.
Do you know what the funny thing about the Call of Duty comparison is that I just realised?
Yeah.
Go on.
Same company.
Right, yeah. But then why can't they? I haven't played Overwatch in such a long time, but so I just renewed my season pass for Warzone. Right, it cost me, I don't know however much it cost to do that battle pass. It's going to last for another 50 days or however long a season is. Like, you don't need to put out a second version if you're making the money on the first version and updating it. Yeah. So do they need to do like an Overwatch 2 when they can just do, as long as they can still churn that audience, still make money and release new content, do they really need just one with a number 2 on it?
No, but this is the point. It's almost like the decision to make Overwatch 2. I mean, this is something that obviously we could have talked about when it was announced as Overwatch 2. The decision to make Overwatch 2 just actually makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
Because you could have done any number of different things in a different way, and it seems like it would have been more successful. And maybe that's why, guess what? We don't have Overwatch 2 to play right now. Because it's a conundrum in itself on how you can actually justify it.
What's interesting, I wonder if you hit it on the head with saying it's a 5-year-old. No, was it say 6-year-old?
6-year-old.
6-year-old. Is that maybe the problem was the decision to make the sequel was decided too early, like before games kind of took the turn they've taken.
Well, yeah, Overwatch 2 was announced 2 years ago, right?
But then you wonder how long they had it in their heads to make it. So, or they decided to make a sequel, and you wonder if the wheels were already turning, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, in which case they maybe would, if they just waited, then they never would have made the decision. Sort of.
But again, some games, and true, this is more to more established franchises, but they would start thinking of the sequel almost before the initial game is released.
Oh, okay. Oh, fair enough.
It's always harder with a new IP, obviously, because you don't know how successful a new IP would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That just seems like a bit of a cop-out argument for them to say, oh, yeah, but, by the time we started thinking on it and things have moved, and then obviously complications, this, that, other. I don't know. It's just.
I think we're also talking around the real elephant in the room, right? Which is that Blizzard were obviously waiting for Gearbox to shut down the Battleborn servers to fully clear the path for a new Overwatch game. Now that's happened, then they can go right ahead.
But don't worry,
I forgot that even existed.
Don't worry, because Battleborn 2, when that releases, is going to be...
Do you know what? I hope there's a 2-hour intro cutscene to get me into Battleborn 2.
Yeah, remember that you couldn't fucking skip.
We tried to do a Let's Play out of it, didn't we? And it was like, this is not going to work as a video.
Yeah.
Hold on, because look, Jamie would love that as a demo for Battleborn 2. He would love an unskippable 2-hour-long cutscene.
That was kind of mental. But yeah, I remember
I'm all for psychological. I'm all for brainwashing.
2 hours to record this thing, guys. Okay, let's set it up. Okay, that'll take about half an hour. Okay. Oh shit, there's a half-hour cutscene. Okay, we've got an hour to play this game.
It's ridiculous.
Look, these things work. I don't know what you want me to do. Like,
all right,
it was
so
an effective demo.
Oh, I've gone fucking blue again. Hold on.
Gone blue again.
Just because like the fucking People Can Fly accidentally turned the Outriders demo into some fucking Jonesy thinks it's Project MK Ultra, like fucking brainwashing people into buying the fucking game.
MK Ultra.
Not them, just the practice in general. I think they just copied it from someone else.
All right, guys, look, the other Blizzard thing that none of us care about, Hearthstone. If you like Hearthstone, they've got a new Year of the Griffin with new cards. Congratulations.
What on Hearthstone?
The most notable missing...
Oh, that triggered me for some reason. It's 2 a.m. Everything's going to get a laugh at this stage, isn't
I'm
it?
trying to wrap this up, fellas, as best as I can.
Bro, we've got 2 more news stories.
Oh, God.
No, fuck it. We're not doing them.
Can we say them out loud? So, because do you know what the comment we get sometimes that I'm always like, oh shit, really?
Yeah.
Sometimes people leave a comment being like, yeah, you guys are my weekly news roundup. Like, I get all my gaming news from you, and I'm like, shit, what if we forget something? This person just might never know.
Fine, man. We can do it. Let's do it. We can do
the
this.
last thing that I want to bring up about BlizzCon, this is just a personal thing, but from a company that built its name and its reputation on real-time strategy games, there were no RTSs shown off or discussed or anything. There was some kind of like weird StarCraft All-Stars match that they did, but that was it. So that just makes me a little bit sad in my soul.
Yeah. And do you know what makes me sad, like vicariously?
Yeah.
Is that I watched the Diablo 2 live stream, like the reveal trailer that I guess they played out. And I genuinely thought you'd come away from that like bawling your eyes out. I thought it was going to turn your world. Yeah, you personally. Yeah. I thought it was going to turn your world upside down. And to hear you come out kind of muted, your reservations come from the right place.
Yeah,
like you're being the right kind of cautious.
I've been burnt too many times, Jamie.
Yeah, I think that's what's sad, right? It's like illustrative of what we've talked about for the last couple of BlizzCons. It's sad that the Blizzard you remember, Chris, and the Blizzard that shaped so much of your gaming history aren't the same company.
No, it's not.
You've said that
not
before.
Even the same people are there. But the other thing is, okay, so this BlizzCon had been delayed. What were they going to show at the last BlizzCon? They were probably thanking their lucky stars that COVID hit, and they were, we got to cancel this shit.
Yeah.
Because what would they have shown? Honestly, what would they have shown? Nothing. Pathetic.
Logos.
Jeff Kaplan was nervous. They only had 95 hero missions ready for Overwatch 2. They needed to hit triple figures.
All right, but anyway, yeah. So that's the main news roundup. Okay, now we're going to give you the headlines before we put a cap on this, so we can all go to sleep, and then Jonesy and I can wake up at the crack of dawn because we are parents. Fucking hell. I've got
work tomorrow. I've got work tomorrow.
All right. PlayStation announced is a bit of a weird one because they released a blog post. Yes, blog, not vlog. Nothing to do with video.
It was a weird announcement, wasn't it?
I think it was just them getting in front of it and just kind of letting people know. But yes, PSVR, I guess 2.0 or the PS5 version of PSVR is in development, a next-gen VR system, so got nothing to do with the current iteration of PSVR. We're talking about everything from enhanced resolution and field of view to tracking and input, and new controllers as well that seemingly from some patent images that have come out seem to be mimicking the Oculus way of doing things, of controllers with tracker, like a tracking loop over your knuckles that will give you finger tracking. So that's pretty cool. So cool. It won't be launching in 2021, but it will incorporate features found in DualSense. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Also, a nice little quality of life feature. It'll connect to the PS5 with a single cord, so none of that fucking breakout box and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's weird to have new tech announced in a blog and them acknowledging that it's not even going to come out for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
But it's important to me that at this stage, well, one, that we're getting a follow-up to what I think is still the best-selling headset in VR terms. Maybe the Quest now might be overtaking it, but it was at one point, which is good for the future of VR. And I'm sure Jonesy's got something to say about that. And also, they're just saying all the right things. In terms of single cord experience, resolution, field of view. It's obvious, but it's what you want to hear.
Yeah, they're not saying you need to log into your Facebook account in order to use it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And the PSVR was accessible, but using the old PlayStation camera with the old PlayStation Move controllers and all the light-based stuff was never going to be the future, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think it was quite funny because when PlayStation 5 came out, I remember reading a few things where people were saying there is no VR for PlayStation 5. It's it's not going to be a thing. It's like, of course it is. They just haven't announced it yet, just because it's not at launch. Like, it's obviously coming.
PSVR, the initial iteration, did very well for their bottom line. I'll tell you that much.
It was, as someone who sort of was an early adopter of PC VR with an HTC Vive when it cost a friggin' bucket load, I was really impressed with what PlayStation did. I enjoyed the PlayStation VR games that I tried out. I think they had a very good... It was a very good way to get into VR, and it was not bad by any stretch.
Dude, can I tell you why?
I'm excited, man.
This is the thing I've understood about VR and the barrier, right? It's ease of entry. How long it takes you to say in your head, I want to play a VR game, to how long it takes to actually be playing that VR game.
Yes.
And the PSVR fucking nailed it. You know what didn't nail it? Pretty much every other VR headset where you had to fucking spend half an hour setting that shit up. Except now, obviously, we've got the Quest 2, which is a lot easier and blah, blah, blah. So those are pretty cool. But yeah, it's PSVR did it before the other companies did it. And that's why it did so well. Because, hey, guess what? You switch on your fucking PlayStation, put on your headset, and you're in the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And any, like Jamie said, they're saying exactly what they need to say. It's about resolution. It's about field of view. It's all that stuff is great.
Yeah. Anyway, Jamie, you want to say something else?
Oh, so really sorry. No, I'm fucking this all up. I was going to say the other thing you do get with PlayStation, right, is you get some kind of a guarantee that because it's in their interests and ours, they're going to come in with a good price point, something that appeals to people that bought the console. If there's one thing that's sometimes a bit weird about PC VR at the moment, as someone who owns a high-end PC, it's weird to me that the Quest 2 is still more appealing than, say, what's the latest HTC and Valve sort of HTC, collaboration?
HTC Vive Pro or the...
No, it's the next one, but I can't remember.
The thing that's got a word, it's a name. It came out alongside
I pre-ordered it,
Half-Life.
and then they said, do you want it? And I said,
no. That's the Valve one. That's the...
what's it called? The Valve...
Sorry, I meant the
Index.
The Index, yeah.
Oh, so I was going to say, it's weird to me, I own a high-end rig, but the Index is still something I look at on that website and think that just looks inaccessibly expensive in and of itself.
It is, yeah.
And at least with PlayStation, it's going to be aimed at people that have bought a console. Dude, the console itself is half the fucking price of the Index, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Right. But the Quest 2 is kind of where you want to be at with your VR at the moment, I think.
For sure.
But it's the Facebook thing that fucking kills it. Anyway, let's move on. Hey guys, we need to rattle this through because I'm going to fall asleep before we even...
I think that could be quite a fun little ending to this this journey we've been on.
Yeah, except I'll just be recording just myself sleeping. Hey, maybe that could be a Patreon stretch. No, okay.
Maybe.
Cyberpunk update patch 1.2 has been delayed. Surprise, surprise, from the company that bought you other delays. But this time, I think it's justified because they're talking about the hack that they had has kind of caused this delay because obviously the hack locked up their servers and got a lot of their no user data, but employee data was seemingly leaked. So instead of coming out in February like they had hoped in the roadmap that they'd put out, which was non-committal to begin with, let's be honest, they're moving it to the latter half of next month, which is fair. They are promising that this will have a much more extensive scope for the updates rather than just the previous patch 1.1, which didn't seem to do much on the surface for a lot of people.
Well, it's said that it did for base PlayStations and Xboxes, but I must admit I'm not 100% on what it even did for them.
Yeah, fair. What is interesting, though, is Jason Schreier was reporting that employees haven't been able to actually work on the game in the past 2 weeks because of the hack. And also that Jamie, you know more about it, but their equivalent of like a national insurance number in Poland or whatever it is has been leaked, and their passport information has been leaked. So they've been told to kind of go to the authorities, what have you.
Yeah, I think in that situation, CDPR were probably quite understandably sensitive to the issue in terms of giving employees the time they would have needed to like arrange whatever they needed to arrange, right? Because sometimes that shit could be complicated and deeply rooted. I think the other thing that he reported that was interesting was that obviously a lot of people at CDPR still set up to work from home, which means having their PCs at home. Those PCs, the work PCs at least, had to be sent back into the office to then be checked by technicians for malware, spyware, whatever, any lingering aftermath of that hack. So it's not one of those things that's as cut and dry as like, oh, classic CD Projekt Red, dropping the ball again. It's a little bit more unfortunate, but it's still just like, it's just another fucking kick in the face.
I do feel bad for them, dude. Like, not to say that they don't deserve some of the criticism that they got, obviously, but it's just one thing after another. And can't feel too bad for them because they made shitloads of money from this game. But it's almost like, to me at least, it feels that no one gives a shit about Cyberpunk anymore. It's kind of come and gone, and yet the company needs to kind of stick with the game and release that, especially with the kind of loans they got from the Polish government and the court cases that are ongoing on. It's a shit time for any developer, and no one really kind of needs to go through it. Anyway,
it'd be absolutely horrendous for the next game they try and release if they don't sort of come good.
It's almost like they can't go through this hype cycle again. They almost have to like finish the game and then be like, oh, by the way, we've got a game. Do the Bethesda. Here's the game. It releases in 3 months' time.
I think it's a little bit sort of unfortunate that the only two things that were almost definitive in their roadmap before were the January and the February patch. Everything else was really wishy-washy, and the timeline was very non-committal. It just who knew?
That's why even the statement is kind of fascinating, right? It's because CDPR have become obviously non-committal, and that's in their best interests. Don't make promises you can't keep. That patch 1.2 gets delayed. What do they say? What, like word for word, because it's in the document we've got.
The aiming at the second half of March.
No, we've been working on numerous overall quality improvement and fixes, and we no, where the fuck is it? Where it says the bit?
It's all gone
That's
wrong.
What it is. I'm just gonna have to read the whole thing, aren't I?
But while Jamie's doing that, I will say, like, absolute bellend, or people in general who hacked them and then fucked us by making us like have to wait even longer for a sodding
for a stable platform, right, to play the game.
Do you know what it is? I think they wrote one sentence and I just made up the rest of it. It's when they say our goal for patch 1.2 goes beyond any of our previous updates.
Right.
And then you thought they said, and we guess, touched little boys.
No, I guess in my head I thought they'd made like some big comment of like, trust me guys, you're going to notice 1.2.
Oh, like you made that up in your own head.
You're going to trust me
guys.
1.2.
This is how this shit gets out of hand, right? It's like people like me create our own narratives.
Holy shit. Okay, listen, that's got to be the key word for the end of this pod, right? Trust me, you're going to remember 1.2.
Trust me. 1.2 is going to fucking... In 1.2, you can feel V's heartbeat.
That's what I wanted to feel.
Some other things, obviously, we mentioned that the Mortal Kombat trailer dropped. First trailer was released, and the movie comes out April 16th. And then there was a Jezebel article that said, oh, but who forgot to invite Chun-Li in a... I'm guessing a non-ironic capacity.
It was non-ironic, and it was obviously someone who hasn't played Mortal Kombat and maybe Street Fighter, who just, do you know what? I'll give her a pass. She maybe thought like, didn't even bother thinking about it. And I think she even then put in the article, surely you want Earth's best heroes to be in Mortal Kombat, and Chun-Li and her spinning bird kick are, absent. And of course, then it took Twitter to about 3 seconds to say, Chun-Li's in Street Fighter, mate. Wow. And then, but to be fair to To be fair to Jezebel that did the article, they left it up and they put a tag at the bottom basically saying we now know
April
why.
Fools.
No, they did. I think they tried to swing it. Apparently, they tried to swing it as like it was a joke and that they knew what they're doing. But I couldn't find any evidence of that. When I read the story at the end, it just said, "We now know why Chun-Li's not in Mortal Kombat," and they left it up. And
fair
they
play
owned
to owning up to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right way to go about that.
But they're not a game.
God.
They're not a gaming thing. They're a women's like feminist magazine thing. They obviously aren't that into video games. I did go through their website. They don't cover video games. They don't have video game articles. Like, so they didn't really know what they were talking about. I mean, give them a pass. They got a lot of heat for it, and I think it was maybe a little strong. Like, if they shouldn't be reporting on it, then maybe if they're not going to research it, but. I think it was a staff writer as well. She's probably quite young. Give her a break.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Which one of you two tweeted about Kano?
I did.
This has just come back to me now. You're so wrong. That's such a bad take.
I said
Yeah,
the real
it was a
travesty
bad
was
take.
that Kano was in it.
Kano's quality and making
He's so annoying.
Kano's so
him an
good.
Australian. Fucking genius.
He literally has the best line of that whole trailer.
Go on.
Dude, the thing where at the end where he's holding the heart.
I can't stand
And
it.
he goes, you fucking beauty. He's holding the heart.
So cringe.
He just ripped a heart
perfect.
out somewhere.
Okay,
So
anyway,
cringe.
guys, the last bit, a special one for me because Republic Commando, Star Wars Republic Commando, maybe the best squad shooter ever released, is coming out to Switch and PlayStation on April 6th with updated controls and maybe some graphical tweaks.
Hell yeah. What more could you ask for?
We actually made a video, well, I made a video on why Republic Commando is worthy of a
great video.
A re-release. So I will link it. Go and watch it. And with that, trust me, patch 1.2 is going to blow you away.
Oh, weird.
What's weird?
I was trying to find our channel really quickly because I was going to make a joke.
Okay, here we go. I mean, I just want to go to Steve at this point. But
Wait,
yeah,
do you want to make the joke, or do you want me to tell you the thing that was weird, or both?
both?
Go on,
and
do
then
it.
please, let's just.
Okay, so the joke was going to be Jonesy makes a video about that horror game and GOG pull it from stores. Chris makes a video about Republic Commando and it comes back to consoles.
I like
so
it.
who's the real influencer? That was the joke. The interesting thing was because I had to get a new SSD and I don't have any of my history or bookmarks.
Yeah.
I just typed in SuperShow into Google for I think the first time ever. Turns out the SuperShow was an Asia-wide live concert tour by South Korean boy band Super Junior.
Yeah.
There's also a music directory made in 1969 directed by John Crome.
How far
There's also
down until you get
an
to the Super Show
agricultural-
podcast?
Thanks, mate.
So let's see. Okay, so there's the agricultural show management software SuperShow system.
Wow. Fuck's sake. Maybe
there's,
this is why we're not growing as a channel.
Oh, okay. It's just below the Amazon link to the SuperShow 1969 film. It's the Audio Boom link. The SuperShow
right.
podcast
Okay.
Audio Boom.
Nice.
Then it goes back to the last great jam of the 60s.
Wow.
There's also an event
What is
called the
happening
Saturday
here
Super
now?
Show at the Phoenix Arts Club in London. I think this is going to become an iconic podcast, this one. Do you want to know what the definition of Super Show is according to the Free Dictionary? Go
Yeah.
on. Brackets, it's a noun, an exceptional show.
Can we change our tagline to "It's an exceptional show"?
It's an exceptional show. 1.2.
But you have to have the in italics. You have to the brackets noun, like
It's an
that beginning,
exceptional show.
like the slate at the beginning of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
It's just
I'll also
an
take.
exceptional
I'll also
show.
take. This is an exceptional comment.
Yes.
Do you know what? I haven't even had dinner yet. We're going to finish doing this, and I'm going to go have dinner.
You madman.
It's
Just go to bed.
25 minutes past 2.
Just go to
I'm
bed.
According to
I'm hungry.
BoardGameGeek.com, the Super Show was a board game that came out in 2014 for 2
still
to 6
going?
players aged 8+. It's a wrestling tabletop dice and card game.
That sounds sick.
I've gone blue again as well.
There's a professional wrestling card game called The Super Show. We got to play this.
Okay.
We should play every game called the Super Show.
We should do everything that you guys want to do, but can we do what I want to do right now and just end this podcast so I can go to sleep, please?
Yeah.
With that, thank you so much for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.